Welcome back to the Pot of Greed.
That is right. So we've got a big Yu-Gi-Oh story to talk about today.
Just one.
Well, I mean, a few stories. One maybe big one.
Or at least it could have been big. I feel like they've decided it won't be so big.
Yeah, perhaps it's a small Yu-Gi-Oh story and plenty of other things as well. Happy to see you. If you're watching the YouTube premiere, then good morning. Hope your Thursday is going well so far. The first couple hours
Wednesday.
of it.
Oh, it's Thursday for them.
Thursday, yeah. And
I'll never get used to that.
One's in chat. Yeah.
For the premiere viewers, y'all know who y'all are.
Cool. So let's first have a little bit of a review, since we always are getting those.
A review of what?
A review of the podcast.
Oh,
on
okay.
Apple Podcasts.
I knew that.
A great podcast with amazing hosts from Frappy21. So they say,
Frappy.
Hey, Paul and Alec, I began watching Team APS way back during the Calvin Can series when he tried to summon a monster in 5 turns while you guys are trying to stop him. Ever since I've watched your channels grow, when I found out about the podcast, I was excited so I can listen to you guys on the road or at work. So I always feel like a part of Team APS. Keep up the amazing content. And if you guys don't mind if I toss in a question for the pot, I wanted to know your opinion on the Cyber Dragon archetype. The most I've been able to climb in Master Duel with them is Diamond rank, so I want to know if it's a deck that's able to keep up with the meta. Thanks for taking the time for this and look forward to more Pod of Greed.
Oh, they snuck that little question in there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's smart. Anywho, so thank you for the review. Appreciate it. Always trying our best. To answer the question in brief, because I have some history with Cyber Dragons, and you can weigh in on this if you
No,
have any
because
thoughts.
I wanted one of your ultimate rare Cyber Dragons, and you wouldn't give me one.
I feel like you would want the old kind though, like the original Cyber Dragon.
I want one of your ulties.
Well, anyway, the point is that Cyber Dragon definitely will struggle a bit in Master Duel. I think that they're long overdue for some support. I was really hoping to see support for them in this light legendary duelist set, but that doesn't seem to be happening. I think the best that Cyber Dragon really gets is just you got to play really carefully. Clockwork Knight feels like I've been seeing that pop up a lot more in the deck, so that might be kind of a way forward for them. And Therian King Regulus, which I also assume that you're probably using, but anything that kind of gets you negation, more interactions with your opponent, I think is what Cyber Dragon needs. So those would be
Clockwork Knight gonna do for you. Oh, you're gonna super poly their board.
Yeah, and then you can just contact fuse with this stuff. So
okay, I get it.
It helps Cyber Dragons a little bit, though it's not searchable. It's not actually my favorite card for that reason, but it can work with Regulus technically, and so there's kind of some.
We run it in Ancient Gears. The superior machine deck.
It is a machine deck.
Superior.
So, the headlining news for today.
Yeah, the story.
This is the story of all time. So, Konami had previously announced when Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds, the WCS, was going to be and where it was going to be.
Now, we may have had some private information. We may have known that there would be a Worlds in the U.S. before anyone else did.
Yeah, I don't think that's really the important thing, though. We all knew about this. It's in Seattle, Washington, on September 6th and 7th, whatever. But the update that they gave is that it's a private event.
That's right. Only Yu-Gi-Oh players, no one else.
Yeah, so basically, no, only Yu-Gi-Oh players allowed. Nobody else allowed. No, it's so basically, let me find the exact post. This is on Facebook. For those looking to attend the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2024 in Seattle, Washington on September 7th and 8th, I said 6th and 7th, but 7th and 8th, we wanted to share that it is an exclusive event open only to duelists that qualify to compete this year. Stay tuned for info on how you can support the WCS duelists at the local level.
All right, so now I'm going to take what you just said and retranslate that. Hey, any of y'all that want to come to the Seattle Worlds, you can't.
Yeah. So this has not been well received by people. For a lot of reasons. Let's break it down.
All right. I feel like there's actually very few people as qualified to talk about this as us, as we've been to the last 2 world championships.
Yeah, by some twist of fate.
And just be clear, guys, we've never earned.
Yeah, we never competed. We've earned it, I guess, in content.
We care about Yu-Gi-Oh, but we're not that good.
Yeah, we're not good enough to make it to Worlds that way. Yeah, so we did attend Worlds in 2019 in Germany, and we also attended last year, 2023, in Japan. Traditionally, Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds has been an event that, it's kind of at the end of the summer, and it rotates its location between the US, Japan, and Europe. and you have to, of
sorry,
course,
South America.
qualify based on like different regions and stuff like that. But I always think they should try to do it in like South America, but I guess it's not.
I feel like they'd then have to acknowledge the horrible like way
of
like card supplies down there.
Supplies there, yeah. That's no. Anyway, yeah. So, traditionally, it's kind of been an event where like, yeah, you have to be invited to go, but if you're in that
compete.
home, you have to compete. But like, if you're in that home region, you can just go and spectate.
Yeah, I remember in Germany, people were coming from all across Europe to attend the event.
They had like a gift shop. I remember that there's obviously a big stage. People could watch. It was a whole thing. And even in Japan, it was that way. But it seems like this time they are kind of just making it like a just exclusive little private event. And I don't really know. What do you think?
It feels like a bit of a slap in the face for like North American Yu-Gi-Oh players, because like for years now, it's been a long time since we had a Worlds in the United States. The
last one was 2016, if you can believe it.
Like, it's been a long time since we had a Worlds on this side of the planet, and so we've all just been watching these world champion. Now I say we, but not me. But you guys have all been watching these world championships just on your computers, and you've always seen that there's a crowd, that it's a spectacle, that it's really something to experience. And then
and so now, like when we finally get around, we've gotten through the COVID pandemic. We've finally gotten, that's more or less in the rear view. Then we get this announcement, and it's like, you can't come.
So
we don't want like any of the more people here. So dropping all like kind of the jokes aside, I have to assume this is a budgetary thing. Like I have to assume that it's like money.
I mean, I feel like
it's more expensive to maybe hold like kind of a public event with like a huge stage, but it makes me wonder how will they kind of capture the sense of prestige that is, in my opinion, supposed to be associated with like Worlds. Like, will there even be like a stage? And then also,
do you need a stage if no one's there?
Well, yeah, that's the next thing I was gonna say is like, then it's like, why is it in Seattle, Washington? Like, could Konami not use their headquarters in California?
It's a very weird decision because why even have like a Worlds in Seattle, Washington if
it's like, no, I know that I guess for Worlds they want it to be like in kind of a notable place. But to me, like California is one of those places that's like seen as like one of the places to go if you're like visiting America. New York, California, Vegas, that sort of thing. So I think that they could actually save more costs if we're operating under the assumption that it's like a budgetary related thing.
Or maybe it's not budgetary.
Yeah,
maybe
like it could
they actually just do not want to have the
people in that office,
like the peasantry attending these events. They don't want us.
That though. I'll get into that in a second too. But what I was gonna say is like they could have it at the Konami offices in California. Like we've been there, and they also did the QCC stream that was like last month. That was like at the Konami office. A lot of the people that were like competing, even in like the digital games, were at the Konami office, and all the like UDS people were like invited out there. And they have like a kind of a game arena that they use. It's got computers, it's got like tables, you can play there and like broadcast it. So they are clearly equipped to do it there. It makes me wonder why even go to the trouble of like getting whatever it is that they got like in Seattle.
I mean, maybe they just specifically don't want Yu-Gi-Oh players in the place where the sauce is made.
Yeah, maybe
the sausage is made.
I don't know. I mean, they could even do it at like an event center like in California then. Like that's kind of like within the city or close by maybe.
I guess they just want to travel. And they're telling the rest of us,
you to travel.
Yeah, we can't travel. Y'all don't travel, we travel.
So anywho, the sentiment behind this, or the sentiment, like the reaction to it has not been good.
Hey, but now there's no more pressure for them to actually like put on a performance anymore. No more pressure to have holograms. No more pressure to show us like a new simulate. They don't have to do any live duels, no voice actors. We can ignore that.
I wonder if they'll do like any of the stuff that's kind of associated with Worlds. Like a live duel would feel weird without like a crowd, right?
I just don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, I mean it's like that feel kind of strange. Something that I'd heard was that, and I want to get into people's reception to this in a second too. But something that I'd heard is that maybe they're going to kind of take this, all of the bravado that would go into Worlds and just put it into Nationals, perhaps. Like that might be optimistic thinking.
And then they announced that Nationals will now be a private event. Only qualified players can enter.
Yeah. I mean, like, because they might, like, here's what I was thinking was going to be at Worlds this year. The one thing that came to mind for me was the Yu-Gi-Oh! VR experience that
you thought?
showed. Yeah. Well, do you remember when they showed that at the Tokyo Dome event? And I was like, oh, okay, they might start, like, kind of having this as a demo that would be at, like, Nats or Worlds. And now that Worlds is private, I guess it probably won't be there. So maybe they'll do it at Nats. Again, this is optimistic thinking. I have no clue.
And when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, guys, remember, optimism has no place here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really like the decision. I just don't think it really like is a very good look in a game that has. Well, let's focus on so people's reactions to this haven't been good. Understandably, I think
my reaction hasn't been good.
Yeah, I've heard really nobody justify this. I've seen people from all kind of corners just be like, "Yeah, why did they do this?" It feels like they're kind of rejecting the community.
I mean, I think that's exactly what they're doing. They're actually that's literally what has been done. They're rejecting the community. Like, do not show up to Seattle. You can't come in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, any more thoughts on it? What do you?
It's like I was saying before. I mean, North American, like Western Yu-Gi-Oh players have been waiting for their chance to have a world championship and attend, even if they can't, compete there. They've been waiting. We've been watching for years now, and we're now told we can't come.
Yeah. So what do you think they did? Do you think it's like budgetary, or do you think that there's like more to it?
I think they don't want to host an event. I think they specifically do not want to spread their resources beyond the actual World Championship final. They don't want to entertain anybody. They don't want to spend the extra money or manpower associated with running tournaments and stuff.
Yeah. So here's something interesting a lot of people might have forgotten, actually. Do you remember in 2020, right before COVID, actually, they'd announced, because Worlds in 2020 was also supposed to be in the United States.
Yes.
And they actually announced that they were going to be doing a YCS alongside it. It was going to be like, there's going to be Worlds, and there's going to be like a YCS that same weekend, and they were all going to be like at the same place, and it was going to be the first time they'd even tried this out. And it was going to be like a huge deal. And they,
that's a major about face.
Yeah, and so obviously, COVID happened, so the whole thing had to get canceled. It's interesting now. It seems like they're playing it like extra safe, like overcorrectingly safe to just like it's just the people who came out. It's weird though because I don't know that it would be much trouble to do like they do YCS events anyway. So like I'm not sure what it is about this that's like meant to be so private. I was trying to think if there had been any like controversial parts about Worlds like last year that they wanted to maybe avoid.
Because there were some controversial things.
There were some things that were not super well received. Like I know people kind of talking about the paper playmat situation,
which won't fix this.
Yeah, which wasn't exactly true. By the way,
this won't fix that.
The paper playmats, the playmats are like adhered to the table.
Yeah,
like think like a sticker.
They were technically made of paper, but not the way you might be.
And thinking. I know there was kind of jokes about the back rooms. So the players playing in the back.
This doesn't fix. None of this fixes that. Though.
Maybe they wouldn't want people there, or maybe it could be about filming. I have a hunch because typically I think when we went to Japan for Worlds, we were invited out by Konami, so we were approved content creators.
Well, at least it seemed like we were approved.
We were approved content creators, and so that was kind of a thing. I think they might not want the American crowd to be able to just with their cameras and their phones recording all this Yu-Gi-Oh!
Making TikToks in the venue.
Yeah, making TikToks and taking pictures and enjoying themselves.
Enjoying the event.
We wouldn't want any of that. So I don't know. I think that Konami they do seem like they're oftentimes pretty reserved about what's kind of allowed to be filmed, and they might feel that the world stage would just open up too much invitation for people to whip out their phones and try to get a look at something and share that.
So instead, what we're going to do is make sure this event has as little engagement as humanly possible.
It does suck because like Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds is already in an odd position. Like it
always has been.
Yeah, it's always kind of been in it's got its own exclusive format that only really lasts the one weekend, and it's very specific and kind of like combines these card pools and ban lists from OCG and TCG. So it's hard to really even get hyped for Worlds in a lot of cases. Like if you're just watching from home, since the only thing you can really get behind is like, oh, I guess team my country. Hope the person from my country does well. But outside of that, like there's not a lot of ways to engage with it. They have in the past done like locals level World celebrations.
Yeah, they've been doing that.
And this post does suggest that they're going to be doing that. So. My guess is like some event at your OTS that follows the World's ban list, and maybe you can win like whatever the World's entry mat is. Like one lucky person who wins at locals can get that, and that's cool. But
you know what's crazy? Maybe this isn't an NA thing. Maybe this is what Yu-Gi-Oh has been trending towards in general. I can't help but remember that when we were walking around Akihabara, during the weekend of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship, and we were going to card shops, meeting Yu-Gi-Oh! Players there. They were asking us why we were in Japan, and we were like, oh, for the World Championship. And they're like, oh, is that happening?
That is true.
They didn't even market their own. They didn't even market the championship in the city it was
country.
In.
It's that is a worrying thought, is just that like people don't ever really know or care about Worlds, and it's gotten to the point where now like Nats is probably the more important thing to like care about if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player. It's a format that you play, and it's actually like people can come in and
you actually go.
You can go and like play, because at Worlds it's just this seems so private. Like it's just you're kind of just quietly going into your back rooms maybe and like play.
Konami,
and then
they don't really want anyone to know about Worlds. I really feel like this is like it's an open secret. They're like, they send out these little kits out to the locals, like, yeah, the Worlds experience. Stay away from the actual event though. We're in Tokyo. They don't, we're seeing advertisements for the Pokemon World Championship everywhere in Tokyo.
Yeah, it's happening like literally the next week.
We saw literally no advertising for Yu-Gi-Oh! To the point where Yu-Gi-Oh! Players didn't even know it was happening. And I have to wonder if that's just by design. Maybe they really don't want people at these events. And now that this will be relegated to pretty much just a streaming only event, and we know how a Konami stream works.
Yeah, those have gotten better. They have.
But relatively speaking, we're not like.
Yeah, they're not amazing. Like when you compare it to a lot of other games,
like we're gonna get a little bit of engagement, but not nearly enough to justify it being called the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I don't think that I would love to be a fly on the wall and like know what it is, but my gut just tells me follow the money, which is to say budgets. Now, two more quick things on this. The first reason why I think that like players don't like this outside of just like waiting for it for a while is that the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh scene and like the big faces in it and kind of the way that it's discussed and engaged with has changed so much like from like pre-pandemic to now, that I think it's a kind of a shame that like there are a lot of people who I think have been like waiting to meet their favorite content creators at Worlds, or like kind of just there are people who were maybe super casuals in 2018, 19, or maybe even started playing over the pandemic. And this was kind of the thing to aspire to, right? Like, is the Yu-Gi-Oh! World stage, and now that's just like...
So, because see, the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship should be at the level of the, relatively speaking, at the relative level of like the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, it
should be this like multi-day event where
it's like a huge celebration of...
You can bring in your top players, your content creators, your voice actors. You can show off what you've been working on, tech demos, games. There should be a huge crowd of interested people who flew in for this weekend so they could get a taste of this event on whatever days they want to attend. And you should be able to pick and choose how you engage with the World Championship. Maybe you're just there for like promo cards. Maybe you're just there for tech demos. Maybe you're there to actually watch the final. But we've downsized the event to the point where there's not much to this.
Care about it. Yeah, so What I was gonna say about that was gonna be my second thing. Is like I feel like they're kind of transitioning away from Worlds. Like I think that they probably need to just reformat what Worlds actually is. Like reassess what does Worlds mean to Yu-Gi-Oh? What does it mean to Konami? Because right now the Tokyo Dome event earlier this year seemed like that was
That's Worlds.
that was Worlds, right? We went to Japan last year in 2023, and you know, as much as I appreciate the trip and the invitation, the event itself was not as like grand as I think that what they put into Tokyo Dome later.
It was boring.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I mean, like we didn't really get to engage a whole lot with the people involved. Content wise, there was not loads to film.
There was not much entertainment done outside of the one dance performance.
Yeah, and like the viewer experience did not seem to be like super well received. So I don't say this as like, an attack on Konami, but more so that it feels like more of the effort that I thought would have been in Worlds last year was put to Tokyo Dome this year, where they had like a VR experience and they had like original Japanese cast, like voice cast out there.
That makes a lot of sense when you're talking about the Japanese budget. It's like, okay, that it's in Japan. It's probably out of their budget, out of their pocket. They're holding two major events in like within a year of each other. It makes sense one would get more of the money here. But now we're over here in North America. Where is the money? Where is it? What's it going to? Like, what is our major thing? We're not even, we can't even say it's going into our products because we have many criticisms about those.
Lots of that. I was gonna say like the best thing I can probably say is like that QCC stream, like that had like Master Duel, Duel Links, and they invited people out for the UDS like belt. It seems like that was like maybe like a trial run for what this Worlds experience is going to be like, where it's like kind of private invite thing. Maybe they'll bring some content creators out and it'll just be like this controlled thing, but maybe they'll try to put like, because I mean, I think that the QCC live stream experience seemed pretty cool for people. Airing anime episodes overnight to like fill that gap, I think was a good way to engage people. And people did get really invested in the UDS part later. So if that's like what they want maybe these Yu-Gi-Oh events to be, then that's something. I don't know how much faith I have in that being like, that remains to be seen. If
you know what I think it is?
What are you thinking?
I think the QCC event did too well as far as whatever their success metrics are. Oh. I think it performed well, and so somebody at the top of Konami, I don't know who, and I won't. If I did know who, I wouldn't even say who. They looked at that and said, "Oh, what if we made our other big events like this? Like this costs significantly less than what like we were projecting a world final would look like. What if we just did this whole thing again for substantially less money? The QCC is cheaper than what a Worlds would be, and it did well enough, and they're turning Worlds into that.
That I can get behind the idea of it. It's just weird. Then like, why is it in Washington? Like, that's.
I mean, that part will never make any sense. I don't know.
My guess, this is, just the grain of salt. I think they just don't want players in like in the Konami headquarters, like looking around.
I mean, that's true too.
Seeing things. I don't know.
I think they, in like the interest of like integrity and yada, yada, yada. You know how much hoops they have to jump through to like funnel players into like the office? No,
that's not happening.
Like they have to cover so many windows, doors.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. But okay, positive spins. We're not just gonna complain about it all day. What I do think could possibly be like a positive outcome of this is that if they put more effort into like making a watchable stream experience, it might feel better for people. That could be a case. Or maybe like some of the budget goes to like Nats, and like Nats gets to have the
Paul, you can't do that.
Something
I say we should focus on your first point. That other thing, that's putting our hopes up, and we should not do that.
It does sound too. Here I am trying to let's be positive. And I have like one more negative thing to add. Those like the lack of like Europe YCS events and like that canceled Speed Duel product. It's like, man, what's going on?
Where's the money?
Like, what is happening?
Like, what are we investing into?
Well, I hope that they have some more exciting news to share with us in the future about this.
We do have time. We have time for them to
perhaps
change all of our opinions.
Yeah, I saw that MBT was trying to like do an event in Washington on the same weekend.
Oh man,
which I thought was hilarious.
If they didn't like him before, they won't like him with that.
Yeah, I know. MBT, he's great though. Like I think it would be kind of interesting if local players congregated at a nearby venue at the same like kind of day and time and had like their own equivalent just sort of event. I think
So that actually could make a lot of sense. A lot of the players who will be invited to Worlds will they'll run in the most competitive Yu-Gi-Oh circuits. They probably would like to have a lot of their peers in the area, and with the event being closed off to anyone who wasn't invited, that if you are from, like, let's say you're from Europe and you have a lot of American competitive friends. And that would have been a good opportunity to like network well, if MBT's event gets off the ground, maybe that still gives them a reason to go up to Seattle, congregate. I don't know how free they will be to like move around in Seattle.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's cool just to see a community member kind of going out of their way to change this.
Wait a minute. Question.
Yes.
So. We've been to a couple Worlds. We know how restrictive Konami is about the movements of the players during the World Championship. So what about the American players? Will they also be like chaperoned by Konami in America?
Probably.
That's so strange.
I mean, they chaperoned people last year, so
yeah, it's just strange because like it's weird. It made sense in like other countries.
Fine control over like where these players are like going and what they're doing. So, what do you guys think? I would love to hear what people think about this. I really do. Like, it's part of me is like kind of like downtrodden about it. The other part of me, and maybe this is the real optimistic spin we're looking at here, is like I don't even really care that much. Like, and I don't mean that in like a like Worlds is crap. I mean it in like I think that we as a community have kind of moved beyond Worlds being a super important thing. I think it's a shame that this is like happening the way that it is. Like I still think it would be good for players to kind of be able to like be together at this event. But I also think that like it's a format people don't really know about. It happens for like a single weekend. Maybe that's just...
I guess my take on it's a bit more negative because I have had the privilege of attending multiple Worlds. And so it's very easy for me to not care about Worlds. Oh, they're not not letting the public in. Oh well, no big deal. But I've been to them. I've been to them multiple times. I didn't need to be invited, at least not as a player, but as an influencer. And so it kind of like grates at me to think that other people are robbed of that opportunity now.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, it probably will never go back to being a public thing. I feel like if this works well for them, they'll probably just keep it this way.
Like, that it doesn't feel good to me. I mean, it's like, oh, I got mine, so what do I care? But
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like I've been I guess privileged enough to get to go to them. And like I do think it's something that a lot of players would enjoy. Maybe we'll get a Tokyo Dome-like event. Doubtful, but it could happen. So anyway,
North America is the second home for Yu-Gi-Oh, even if Konami doesn't like to admit it.
Yeah,
sorry.
Well, the comments are not good. Maybe Konami will read that and see that, and something can at least. We haven't, like they said, stay tuned for details about how
that's true. More can
there
come
might be
out.
more information.
Maybe we'll be looking like donkeys by the end of this.
Yeah,
like, they'll announce so many amazing and awesome things.
Yeah,
guys, we're giving out free like promos to everyone. Okay, that's not happening. But
we'll see. Something would be nice. Because it's not a great.
It's not a good look.
Okay, well, anywho, there's other Yu-Gi-Oh! News going on.
That is true.
Not actually loads of it, but a little bit of stuff. So the Speed Duel, the new Speed Duel product, Midterm Destruction.
Yes.
We finally got some reveals of like the cards and stuff inside. The content creators
very
did
excited.
their openings. Not a lot to talk about if you're like not into speed duels, you're not into it. But
if you're a GX fan, there's a plenty.
Yeah, it introduces some really cool cards in the speed duels. Dandelion, Fossil Dyna, Pachycephalo.
A lot of people forget Dandelion was first played by Jaden. It just didn't find a real use until Synchros.
Some tokens. But yeah, I mean, well, even early on, it was using Monarchs, actually. It was like a big kind of Monarch.
Oh, yeah, it was a Monarch card. That's true.
Yeah, and so, we got to see some of the skill cards. Any kind of highlights of the product for you?
Yeah. The Arcana Force stuff, it's a strange niche deck, but it does have an audience of people who've always wanted for Arcana Force to be good. Yeah. And this is a format, and they have a skill that actually might make them playable.
Yeah, Arcana's skill, I forget the name of it, but it basically lets you, for the cost of half your life points, decide a dice roll, a coin flip result for both a monster and a spell once per turn. So that's actually really awesome. It basically means anytime you summon one of your Arcana Force monsters, you can pick its roll. Anytime you use one of the mini spells that like have coin flipping, like say Cup of Ace, then you can like get the roll. Now paying half your life points for it is terrifying.
There's only 4,000 of them in speed duels.
But I think that like super high risk, super high return strategy is kind of part of the fun.
Agreed.
So I look forward to that.
The other thing, Jaden's getting his Neospatian support here, and the Neospatians are bad, but a skill can save them.
Yeah, will Speed Duel be the one place where Neospatians can see some modicum of success? I mean, like I think Grand Mole being in Speed Duel feels like kind of scary.
Toxic. Oh yeah, scary.
Well, who knows? There have been so many cases with Speed Duel where like a strong card will get released in Speed Duel and be fine because the actual abuse level is pretty low around it.
And that should be the case here, but we're getting Pachycephalo and Grand Mole.
I mean, I don't know if those are actually as big a concern as they'd seem. Like, Pachycephalo, for instance, it's weird, right? In kind of regular Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pachycephalo is this thing that you normal summon it, you set these floodgates, case closed, right? Like, that's kind of it. Maybe you'll give it like Moon Mirror Shield. But in Speed Duel, how many decks actually are like special summoning? Just like rapidly as like part of their thing.
Every deck should be able to normal summon swing on it.
Yeah, and so when I think about that, and then also the fact that Speed Duel does not have the battle defensiveness that like the regular format would have. Like, yeah, there's plenty of ways to modify attack and defense, so you can protect your Pachycephalo. But it's certainly not going to be like, I think, the shutout card that the stun shutout. I hate this thing that it is in the TCG.
It's a different format for Yu-Gi-Oh!, a different style. I still think players are going to find a way to make it quite annoying.
I do worry
but it's not the same type of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, Speed Duel has it does have some stun-ish cards.
In fact, our first few ban lists for Speed Duels were pretty much just to stop that.
Hitting the stun, hitting a lot of the kind of the slow stally stuff. So I could totally see, a defensive Fossil Dyna deck being good and then maybe it getting put to like limit 1 or something like that.
I could see it.
Limit 2.
But that may not even be necessary.
Yeah, and same with Grand Mole. It's like a weird card because Grand Mole had a time where it was like the out to every extra deck thing, like all the annoying little synchros. However, in Speed Duel with the low life points that there are, if you like have to summon Grand Mole in response and like something, the next turn you're eating a direct attack.
That's true.
Grand Mole's use is suddenly a little bit more limited. So.
But I said all that. My favorite thing in this set is Fossil Fusion support in Speed Duels.
That'll probably be the only format where fossils get some.
They came out too late in the card game, in the TCG,
late. And far too weak for when they came out.
Yeah, I think they're finally being released in a form where they actually might be playable. I don't think they'll be the best deck in Speed Duels. Maybe they will be, but they'll be competent. Finally.
Yeah, it's that thing that I always talk about where like certain decks just don't get a place to shine at all. So this could be that thing. So basically, you're only getting 4 decks. You're getting Neos, Arcana Force, Dinosaurs, and Fossils.
Yep.
With a couple of kind of variant.
There's some extra stuff
cards.
mixed in.
And then there's a few the extra cards being like Armed Dragon level 10 white and like White Veil.
Yeah.
It's kind of a neat thing. Cyberdark Cannon is in here for whatever reason. I don't know. Some Moki Adrift, if you remember that.
Nope.
So
I
kind
do
of
remember
some
the
weird-
episode with Moki Moki.
Yeah, so some Moki Moki things. A few new staples getting added to Speed Duel. Stuff like Sakuretsu armor is getting added for the first time.
Strong
So,
battle trap.
like Spiritual Earth Art Kuragane. That's
It's a solid card.
Yeah, there's a few others. They're adding in Typhoon. That's an interesting one.
Good stuff.
I don't know if you remember that from that one battle pack.
It had cool artwork.
Yeah, Fossil Dig's getting added in. Trying to see any other like major quick highlights. Divine Wrath.
Divine Wrath,
getting
man.
added to Speed Duel. In a way, I think it's going to be pretty balanced because you have to like discard, and Speed Duel doesn't have like,
When you start off with
excess of card
a lower
advantage.
hand, and there's not really draw cards, or not really good draw cards in Speed Duel. So
Right. So there are certainly a few new fun staples, and also you can get secret rare copies of a lot of cards. So you can finally get like a secret Dandelion for Edison decks, or a secret rare Card Trooper, which could be
makes sense.
fun. Secret rare Pot of Avarice for the first time.
Fire.
That's
That's
fun.
fire.
So yeah, I think it'll be a fun little set. I'm gonna try to get my hands on it. Do a little 4-way house tournament, or maybe even introduce some new people.
I want to
to
crack
Yu-Gi-Oh!
open
Direct.
one, and I want to have one to keep on me.
Yeah, always good. You said that you bring your Speed Duel products like home with you at
I do.
times. Have you done that at all?
Not
since-
successfully, no.
not. Okay.
But I have not given up. I will get my old friends to play Yu-Gi-Oh again by hook or by crook.
Yes, that Speed Duel GX Midterm Destruction comes out next week. Grab it if you're into Speed Duels, and if you are into Speed Duels, I still recommend maybe considering it. 'Cause
Give it a
might be
try.
fun.
Even if you love the advanced format, I still think there's merit to this format.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where like I think they finally have found the format that works for Speed Duel, which is these like little sealed box play experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talk about this a lot, so it's something new. But I think that that's kind of how Speed Duel is best enjoyed and best like distributed.
But now my question is, what direction does Speed Duels going next?
Oh yeah, because they've pretty much like finished GX. They've gone through
There's
every major character.
I think the only thing we haven't dug into really is the final season of GX, which did not get aired in the States.
They probably won't do it.
Like they
The
might
Speed
not
Duel-
do it, but then what do they do after this?
Because yeah, Speed Duel is like a Konami US and EU led initiative,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't think they would want to dabble into that final season of GX, and it's like literally the target audience couldn't have watched it. So now I remember after they did the first Speed Duel GX stuff, they went back to Battle City.
Right.
So it makes me wonder then if they will, now that they've kind of finished GX, if they will still hop back to DM to go to those characters like Siegfried von Schroeder, Leon von Schroeder.
Woo!
But they actually have support cards.
I mean, they do.
They
Just-
wouldn't be giving them new, like they give them skills, but like there
Woo.
is still more they haven't.
What was that
done.
arc called?
The KC Grand Championship
Yeah.
arc or whatever it was. Like
Ooh.
they could do that. They could do Dark Master Zork.
Ooh.
And like they or some of the Silvori Calcos arc characters.
Oh, Waking the Dragon.
Waking the Dragons, yeah, like because they haven't really done anything with like Mirror Force Dragon and Crush Card Dragon or whatever, like
Timaeus.
the Tamaya stuff. So
It's possible. It's like, cause I don't know if they're jumping for joy to go to 5Ds.
Yeah, I worry about stuff like 5Ds showing up
Because that's where the
it could be
balancing
power
gets
creep.
difficult.
It's also where you just cannot avoid the special summon. Like
It
right now in
begins.
Speed Duel, they can their strategy they can just kind of do normal summons with like a special summon per turn. But like with 5Ds, you have to have special summons.
It starts off slow, then it ramps up.
Well, if they do decide to do 5Ds, I will stick with Speed Duel and see how they do it. I
Yeah.
like Speed Duel, so I think it's fun.
I think they've done well enough.
Okay, anyways, that's Speed Duel Midterm Destruction.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few other like kind of small Yu-Gi-Oh announcements. I know you'd found some. Has anything happened in Duel Links? Because Master Duel doesn't have anything super new to speak of. The Duelist Cup's just
Yeah,
still
Duel
happening.
Links. We have some more new cards in Duel Links.
Okay.
I guess I'll start off with on the speed Duel Links side. We got a new EX structure deck. We got the Zombie Necromancy deck.
Okay.
And its cover card is the Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord, the level 10 guy. It hasn't been that long since we got it. It was in that kind of last round of zombie support, along with like Spirit Dow and the Immortal Dragon. They even come. There's a new archive skill. Archive skills can be used with any character. They're not locked into any one character. The only downside to that is that then no one gets any special voice lines with them.
Oh, that was kind
Though
of
to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't actually have too many zombie duelists. I mean, Bones and Bastion in the manga. I don't know who else really, but yeah, they come with a new skill. It's focused around the Red Eyes Dragon guy. It specifically makes it harder, but not impossible to use Barrone, as I found out. I built the deck. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's kind of a zombie synchro pile strategy. It's pretty good. I can't lie. But that's not all that Duel Links got. We also have the announcement and leaks. We knew that Sherry LeBlanc from 5Ds was coming to the game. And there was a lot of interest if we were going to receive Barrone de Fleur, because Yu-Gi-Oh players going to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, Barrone de Fleur, strong card.
And at first I was like, well, clearly it's not coming. At least from the leaks that I saw, I was like, oh, we're not getting Barrone. Until I read one of Sherry's skills and it says this: if you control a face-up Chevalier de Fleur and your opponent controls a monster, you can add one Barrone de Fleur to your extra deck. This skill can only be used once per duel.
Okay.
So as it stands, that is the only way you can use Barrone, I think.
Oh, so it's kind of a limited access thing. Like, you have to be using her skill, and you have to be running like Chevalier de Fleur.
I really hope.
I hope it stays.
That it stays that way.
Because otherwise, Barrone de Fleur is just, man.
That's a strong
monster.
monster.
Like, kind of extra deck staple. I think it would make Duel Links pretty miserable to play if everybody was just spamming out like how Master Duel goes.
But Sherry has 3 skills in total, so you can actually run quite a few different kind of
variants of
Fleur. I don't know what you call that archetype.
Yeah, really. It's like the Fleur. Sage de Fleur, Sage de Fleur, whatever.
We're also getting new Tech Genius skills. TGs, you might remember, were actually a really strong deck in Duel Links 2 years ago, I think, I want to say. But they're getting 3 more skills. We're getting a host of other skills like Goki, Gladiator Beast, Ogdotic, Sky Strikers, which tells me we're getting a new box. Yeah. A new box with new archetypes. I haven't seen the leaks for the box yet, but sounds like we're getting Sky Strikers, and a lot of people are excited about that.
Yeah, Sky Strikers and Duel Links sounds like fun. That's like always. It's very heavily dependent on like which cards they give them access to and which ones they don't. Mm-hmm. You know, will they have like multi-roll? Will they get I guess like 3 engage. Like, how will that all play out?
I do not expect them to get the full package of support. I mean, whenever they introduce these TCG favorite decks, they always seem to hit as playable, not tier 1. That's kind of how they usually show up.
Which I think is actually probably for the best. It means that usually the best decks in Duel Links are ones that were not the best decks in the TCG. Yeah, so there's like a bit of... If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player who plays both or has played both or whatever, you'll get a mix, and that's nice.
The best decks in Duel Links are always the ones with skills that have 2 paragraphs in them. Those are the best ones.
Yeah, it seems like they have more and more of those these days.
Yeah, it keeps happening. And then last but not least is our Rush Duel Links update. We got a super mini box, I believe the first of its kind. It's essentially the smallest box we've ever seen. But it has very concentrated support for I think 3 strategies that I think everyone will be happy to have. We have Roa's Royal Rebels are getting a new boss monster and a host of other monsters that just helps Royal Rebels be better. They were already the best Rush Duel deck allegedly right now, and now they have even more support. So. They're honestly pretty good, and they seemingly will be good for a long time. Psychics got some new cards. We got the new Esperad, the Smashing Superstar, who can actually destroy, I think, 2 of your opponent's monsters off the field. I have a very low quality image. The internet's in here is not great, but yeah, she can destroy like 2 of your opponent's monsters, and that's pretty good because. So far in Rush Duel Links, our effects can only destroy 1 monster at a time. We're also getting more Thunder support. I don't think it's the most amazing Thunder support, but we're getting Thunder support. So the Thunder decks and strategies, they're coming up. But for the first time ever, we got Zombie support.
Okay.
And it's bad.
I mean, I guess it has to be at the start.
Yeah, it's not the new zombie cards aren't good, but we do have an engine now. Very similar to the Seahorse Carrier strategy. I know you don't know what it is, but a lot of Rush Duel players are used to using Aqua Monsters because there's a card called Seahorse Carrier that can just on like summon, snatch one of your Aqua Monsters back out the grave and add it to your hand. It just lets you get resources to make bigger plays. And zombies, they have an engine like that, though we still don't have any notable zombie like beat sticks or boss monsters. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, well, like I don't follow Rush Duel, so because I can't be like as excited about the news, but I'm also happy to hear that they're at least still releasing the stuff for the freaking format. I've heard so little, I guess, really about it. So,
I mean, ever since the around the QCC time, Rush Duel has been the premier mode in Duel Links, getting significantly more updates than Speed Duel Links has gotten in the last few months. Will that keep up? Of course not. But for now, Rush Duel Links is finally being its own game, and it's actually pretty interesting right now.
Okay. Well, here's another weird little product announcement that you might not have known about. They're re-releasing Yu-Gi-Oh's Legendary Decks 2 product. I don't know if you remember this, but they did these like Legendary Decks products. They started doing them in like 2015, and so the one in 2016 was Legendary Decks 2. And they're re-releasing it, but it has 3 decks for 3 different a deck for 3 different characters, Yugi, Joey, and Kaiba. And they're just re-releasing the same product. It's going to be like coming out here in a few weeks or whatever, and it'll just be back on shelves. It's kind of like last year, kind of redoing the Legendary Collection or whatever it was. So they're doing it again with this.
Well, this won't be like Legendary Collection though, right? Because that was a remake of that product. This sounds like it's just a carbon copy, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know why they're doing this, but I have a hunch is that because Yugi's deck in this has Exodia, so maybe they're trying to make it easy for people to get like, the pieces of Exodia, and also kind of like Obliterate and like those cards, like introduced Obliterate, the continuous trap or whatever, and so maybe it's kind of meant to let you get your hands on that stuff. And technically, Yugi has like Marshmallow and like some of those what is it like. Silent Magician and stuff like that are in here. So maybe like it's to help you with like if you're running that Shining Sarcophagus strategy from Legacy. That it's really strange. I just don't know why they're re-releasing this.
This one's hard to get behind. It just screams like Konami's marketing team
in the warehouse, but
it just feels like someone said, "Well, DM sells."
Yeah, no, listen. I'm not gonna be too negative in this, and here's the one reason why. Because it does sell. And there are people who, they're not listening to this podcast, but there are the people listening to this podcast are going to be like, what? Like, why does this product exist? And I'm kind of one of those people. But the truth is, this will sell so well to some of those, like, just very casual, nostalgic, old school fans. What? They're releasing a thing that lets me get, like, a Yugi, a Kaiba, and a Joey deck, like, together in one? Sign me right up. And you'll get, like, these pre-built decks. And you can play that form of Yu-Gi-Oh! That is long since past, but because of how this product is constructed, you can like feel good about it. Like you don't have to like build a deck, like it's like finished already. So
I wonder though, this is a re-release of that product. I have to wonder how many people are there still that would buy it? Because like I feel like the last time they released this product, 2016, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of casual players jumped to it, and
So you're wondering like how
many more?
Left?
Yeah, how many more are there? Because like the thing is, it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh is this growing property with new players coming in every single day. That's how it should be, but it's just not. The player base that grew up with DM. We're getting older, and many of us have already dipped back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Like maybe we were probably there in 2016, and we bought it then, or we looked at it, got interested in Yu-Gi-Oh!, played Master Duel, got smacked down, and now we know we don't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore.
You know how many there are? enough. That's how many.
Or at least that's what the marketing team says.
The marketing team at Konami has decided that there are enough. Now, I don't know how well those legendary collections from like the 25th anniversary kind of legacy collections sold. Maybe they sold really well.
I mean, relatively speaking, probably.
Because like we wouldn't know, right? Like people like us, or if you're like listening to this podcast, that product wasn't really probably for you. Maybe you got Spell Roller to try to get a few GOAT spells. That's like it. So it might have been such that it was like flying off the shelves of Walmarts and Targets to like just the more casual nostalgia head, and might have been one of the better performing products. I don't know.
At the end of the day, I do think if you just think about it as a market size deal, that product's market size is substantially larger than like the market size for the Fire King structure, right?
Yeah.
Even though to like, you know, us as core Yu-Gi-Oh players, the Fire King structure is the better buy,
value, right?
like 10 times better than these legendary decks. But the market size for legendary decks is probably 10 times bigger than the Fire King deck.
Yeah, and I know like
can they reach that market?
I mean, they don't have to reach that entire market. They only have to reach maybe half of it, and it still dwarfs. You know
can they even reach that? Konami hates marketing.
So, well, they certainly have a unique approach to it, put it that way. So, you know, that's. I think it'll be a cool product. I think people will sell. I'll make a video about it. I'll buy this and rehash.
They love it when we make content with their
Yugi
products
versus Joey duels or something. But you know. So yeah, I thought that was kind of just a neat thing and came across my inbox. So I was like, oh.
I mean, it's a story. That's a legitimate Yu-Gi-Oh story.
Will you be buying this, listeners? That's the question that really matters.
Man, I feel like anyone who's listening to us has bought it in 2016.
They probably bought it then,
or they know better.
Yeah. That's the
I mean, like I liked the product just fine, but I'm a filthy casual, you know.
Yeah.
And I've already bought it once, so there's no reason for me to buy it again.
You're really down on Yu-Gi-Oh today, you know. You should be happy that they're releasing.
I just said I'm a filthy casual. I love Yu-Gi-Oh. That's my whole problem.
Well, anyway, any more Yu-Gi-Oh news going on?
Yeah, we got some Japanese stuff coming around.
Okay.
So they announced the Millennium. That's the one I care about.
Sorry.
You're down on Yu-Gi-Oh too today.
Yeah, sorry. Oops.
They announced the Millennium Ring Complete Edition. So this is in that line of very well made replica.
Those Bandai replicas.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's the Millennium Ring this time.
The Rod had voice lines. Does this one?
So it says it does have pre-recorded lines of Bakura and theme songs from Duel Monsters. So it's the full 9 yards.
Must be nice, like liking Yu-Gi-Oh in Japan.
I mean, we can import it. Like,
meanwhile in Japan, you like go to the local freaking grocery store and it's like sitting on.
And then this thing's 11,000 yen, which like what would that be for us? Like
$100.
Yeah, like 90 100 somewhere around. That's not bad.
It's really not bad. I mean, when the alternative is paying like hundreds of dollars for Egyptian god replicas.
My issue is it does not seem to come with a chain to wear it.
That's unfortunate. It should.
Like they say, bring your own chain. It's like, oh, okay, I'll just have my Egyptian chain that I keep on my door. Just
that is pretty cool.
It is cool.
I would like to.
I would love to have Bakura inside me. I think what I'll probably
do is I would
Spirit of the Ring.
I would actually. I want to when they're all out, or maybe I should be getting them now. I want to have like the ring, the rod,
the puzzle,
like all that stuff. The puzzle.
So far, it has. They've only done the puzzle and the rod, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so you're not too far behind.
What are they gonna do for the eye? I feel like the eye is like not as interesting.
I mean,
unless you can like surgically like put it in and
just like smash it in there.
Oh, I also saw that we opened the side set Unity.
Yeah.
Well, they've revealed the side set
Pride.
Yeah, Pride, which kind of focuses on more antagonistic character.
I learned that from the comments in that video.
Yeah, we do read them. Well, this one's cool because it's got an alternate art for Harpies Feather Duster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool.
I thought it was cool because I never quite understood like what the Feather Duster was.
Yeah, I was
or why the Feather Duster.
Like, what is Harpies Feather? Like, is it a Harpies feather that got like cut off or something, and then they're just like using it to destroy stuff, like, or is it like a small one that they're holding and they're just kind of like, dusting the house?
Does it have anything to actually do with the Harpies?
Yeah.
Well, now we can actually see the cyber harpy lady actually using the thing. It's actually a giant feather.
Yeah. This is kind of the equivalent to the Unity product had the Raigeki that featured Slack for the Sky Dragon, and so this one's
Right.
the Feather Duster. It's got Cyber Harpy Lady. So I thought that was pretty cool. We'll hopefully be like opening it maybe from Yugi Market.
I wonder how we're gonna get this artwork in a TCG.
I mean, my guess is like they tossed it in a Battles of Legend, perhaps.
That makes
like
sense.
It feels like that might be where they would do it.
Yeah.
Or some like fall set kind of toward the end of the year. But I hope that we get them because alternate arts that feature the monsters is always like it's one of the favorites of mine. So I think that's all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Like that I can think of. Has there been any other stuff?
I'm checking my list. That I got nothing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, maybe not the most like optimistic Yu-Gi-Oh! Day, but it could all change. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here.
It's because our major story was a disappointing one. I think that it set us on a path like of gloom.
Yeah. Well, Konami could change all the doom and gloom by just releasing a ban list. Like
That's true.
literally, if the Konami
that would
releases a
change
ban list,
everything.
like today,
Just
then
whoop.
We'll all forget. We'll all be like, "Oh yeah, this Worlds thing is
This
fine.
new
like,
format
whatever.
is crazy.
This
It's
new
having
format's
so much
crazy.
fun.
Oh my god!
gosh.
Like I can't
Snake
believe
Eye
they
Ash went to 1.
hit this whatever." So it's. I'll finish on this because there's something to be said about like we as a community. I think we're so resilient. But it almost feels like it's like to a fault where it's like, man, Konami can kind of just have their way with us a little bit. It's like negative news today and like we don't like it. But if a ban list comes tomorrow, we will forget and just like focus on that.
You said resilient, which is a very nice and pretty
nice
word.
Well, we won't hear what your word is because we're going to move on to a more positive story that is not Yu-Gi-Oh! Related. But all I'm going to say is just that like, hopefully Konami releases a ban list soon. Okay.
Save us.
Got something for us? Card game, maybe?
So,
like that?
funnily enough, I failed at finding any card game stories. It did, like Magic the Gathering didn't have anything like interesting. Just they're doing collabs, yo. Like,
Well, I've got a Pokemon one.
what you got?
Pokemon Pandemonium Strikes, Houston collectibles dealer. This is actually, so somebody suggested this in like the Pot of Greed questions, but I also just happened to see this headline. So Mad Rat Toys, which is a Houston-based toy, comics, and card dealer, is under fire after posting photos with shopping carts full of Pokemon cards at a local Costco. The Facebook post shows the owners posing with the overfilled shopping carts at Costco, and later, the boxes of Pokemon cards displayed across their shop's counters. So, the exclusive 2-pack features Zapdos EX and Alakazam EX cards. Although Costco imposes limits on certain items, this Pokemon card set was apparently not restricted. Costco's customer service representative told LoneStarLive.com. That's where I'm getting this story from. David Doering, owner of Mad Rat Toys, confirmed that he purchased about 100, that's his quote, of the Pokemon bundles at a Houston area Costco. As a small business owner, he relies on purchases from warehouse stores, eBay, and collector networks to stock his inventory. He says, "We are having a lot of fun opening them. We do resell the cards, but not the bundles. If it were available by distributors, we would have bought it that way. It's been sold out for months," he said in an interview. "To satisfy demand, one must seek out deals." So, people are upset about this.
I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around what is going on here.
So a card shop, like your local card shop, goes to Walmart, let's say, I'm kind of using Walmart as an example here, buys out all of the Pokemon cards at Walmart so that they can sell them at their card shop. And at their card shop, they will cost more, obviously. There will be slightly marked up or significantly marked up at said local card shop. Now, local card shop's defense of this is that, well, I wasn't able to get it from my distributors, so I am getting it in the next best way that I can, which is going to this other kind of local place, 20, 30 minutes down the road, grabbing it all there, and people are not pleased. You're taking this stuff from another store that's like local. This is also probably maybe a place where more kids might have been able to get it because parents shop at Costco and stuff.
Right.
And it just feels like maybe it's like flipping culture. There's a lot of that in there.
Did they buy all of the product?
I don't know. It looks like they bought a vast majority of it. Here are some pictures if you just want to like kind of see about how much we're talking. They both had these shopping carts full of stuff.
Woo!
Then there's a picture of it on their like counter at their card shops. There's a lot. Mm-hmm. They actually have multiple carts. There's like at least three overfilled carts that I can see from this like post.
I can certainly see a few different angles here. Now, as a red-blooded American and a capitalist, all I can see is the free trade doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing.
The market will regulate itself.
But the socialist in me is like screaming at the like lack of moral character at play here, because the thing is that was on sale to the general public, to Pokemon fans.
Yeah.
You, as a shop owner, are not a Pokemon fan, but a vendor. You saw a product that you weren't able to get your hands on, and before any of the intended audience could get to it, you scooped it all up so that you can then sell it to them at a higher price. If I ignoring the like how business works and how difficult it is to be a business owner, that's some scummy stuff right there. Like,
yeah, it doesn't sound like a good look. I think that what also didn't help is that they like boasted about it on social media. They're like, "Look, guys, look what we did."
Cause see, well, and if I continue this train of thought,
okay,
that if you are going to like buy up and scalp this product, you now need to advertise that you have it and you're the only one who has it.
Yeah, I don't think that the response was overwhelmingly negative.
Oh yeah,
people really did not like this. Kids now can't get those products at the Costco, at least not until there's maybe a major restock, which might not even happen.
But but they're offering you an alternative. You don't have to go to scummy big business Costco.
You can now
come
go
to this small business. Support us,
up, though. Like right, like that's a little.
That's just the cost of doing business. We can't take a loss here.
Yeah. So somebody said my kid loves Pokemon cards and loves going to collectible stores. He was hoping he'd see this pack at Costco next time we went. Guess we won't now. This is a poor look for them, gloating on social media. Also, the store opened fairly recently. The store only opened in February in Houston, and I guess this is like their way of
aggressive business tactics.
Aggressive business. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I really don't. I'm not a fan of flipping culture. I don't think that it's very good, and stuff like that in some cases can just harm the like overall availability of the product, because like you have to accept that like there are some people who just don't come into card shops, but they still collect Pokemon cards. And so like if they can't get them at Costco, they just won't get them. Like their parents just maybe only buy them at,
But I mean,
Walmart,
if we put ourselves into the shoes of a grubby capitalist, those people weren't in their market to begin with. Why should they care about people who were never going to come to their store in the first place?
Well, you'll be happy to know then, Mr. Capitalist, that while a majority criticized the store for depleting Costco's stock, some defended the action. Another Reddit user, Sturman Stern, noted that local shops often resort to purchasing from eBay or Costco due to the prohibitive costs of entering the distribution network for cards and comics. So they're kind of doing this the grassroots way, is the idea. And Doring confirmed, that's the card shop owner, confirmed this challenge, stating that the Pokemon sets he acquired were unavailable through his usual distribution channels.
He did say that.
Mad Rat's Toys is not reselling the sets, but is offering individual cards instead. So he says, we assume the risk of opening the packs, allowing customers to buy specific cards without the gamble. So in that way,
that is certainly a great way to spin it.
They're certainly doing the average card gamer a favor. And, believe it or not, I think that if this sort of thing like happened with Yu-Gi-Oh, there would be a pretty big sect of people who might be in favor of it.
I think a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players would be.
A lot of people don't like to assume the risk of opening like a box. They would rather just buy the singles. That's like a really common sentiment. And so these guys are buying all the Costco stock, sure, but they're opening it And so that means that like they have to face the losses or the wins, the profits from what they pull instead of you.
Now, but I think but that's the Yu-Gi-Oh culture.
Yeah.
But the Pokemon culture, they're at least what you see online, right? Pack openings. That's actually a bigger part of Pokemon than having the cards themselves, is opening the packs.
Yeah, now there's also an update to the story that they apparently were weighing some of the packs. So they were like doing the pack weighting trick so that they could maybe open only the foils.
And then they can sell the lighter packs.
Sell the lighter packs, but I'm not sure if that's true. That's something that
one
of their
conjecture.
Employees made a post about, like, you know, taking a break from weighing packs or something like that. So, yeah, so can't comment as much about that. Like, I don't know, you know, that's not like part of what's being reported on. That's just sort of an extra bit to the story. Don't like the sound of it, but if they really feel that they're doing their local community, their card gaming community.
If they open up in February, how much of a local community can they have?
We'll see how much longer they have one, because people have been review bombing them on Google. So
yikes.
And that, while it sounds like it's just sort of Karen behavior that won't affect anything, actually getting bad review scores on Google
that's pretty
tanks
huge.
like your visibility in the like in the search algorithm. So people search for like card shops near me, and yours like won't show up, or it'll be like at the very bottom of the list or whatever. So a little unfortunate.
And that's certainly a rough Pokemon story, man. Pokemon cards, they make people act crazy.
They really, really do. It's like interesting. I guess with Yu-Gi-Oh, we're kind of at this weird odds with, like, you know, the parent company like Konami. Like, we're always just Konami this. They need to ban this. They need to print this better. This event.
I know how this game should be run.
But then, like with Pokemon, it's kind of like the Pokemon company rarely comes under fire. It's like it's just resellers and like weird predatory practices, like from other consumers.
Like for Yu-Gi-Oh players, Konami is the enemy. For Pokemon players are the enemy. Pokemon collectors or vendors.
Pokemon investors. Flippers, I don't know. Okay, we got another card game story too.
What you got?
Did you know that Sandland, Akira Toriyama's Sandland,
I know all about Sandland. That's a lot of Sandland.
Yeah, I did not know this till this morning. So, welcome to the latest addition to the Akira Toriyama universe, Sandland. Now available as an engaging card game that promises to deliver strategic gameplay, captivating battles, and the chance to dive deeper into the beloved world created by the legendary manga artist. With the upcoming anime and game releases setting the stage, this card game debut is perfectly timed to capture the hearts of fans and newcomers alike.
Okay, wait. I need to stop you there, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around the sheer amount of Sandland we're getting kind of out of nowhere. Because I already knew Sandland was getting a game. No, well, first I knew it was getting an anime.
Right.
Then I found out it was getting a game.
Yes.
Now they're getting a card game, and it's like, what? Who?
Crafted by the esteemed game creator Richard Garfield, known for his revolutionary work in the trading card game industry, this game is a testament to his expertise and creative genius. Okay, like, can we get off his... Garfield's involvement ensures a gameplay experience that is both deep in strategy and rich in the lore of Sandland. Yeah, I'd love to have a little look at him.
Garfield is the Jesus of card games.
Well, anyways, so what sets this game apart, they say? Constructed set format. The game is available in a constructed set format, which means long-term playability with just a single purchase, Alec. Players will find reasonable updates to expand their play, offering fresh challenges and strategies. Each set contains one deck, randomly selected from a set number of deck patterns, promising a unique experience for each player. Wow, that's interesting.
It is confusing.
Imagine basically like with Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, there's like starter decks or whatever, structure decks, but like the structure deck that I buy isn't going to be like the structure deck that you buy. Like they're kind of randomly generated.
Interesting.
That's at least how
are you allowed to exchange cards in the decks, or is like when you buy the deck, that's the deck now? You can't.
I guess you could change it, but the idea here is that you don't have to, and by not doing so, you can face another person who hasn't changed theirs and get a unique duel or match or whatever they would call that. Have you found anything on Garfield?
So Garfield created Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that. I feel like a lot of people are going like, what the frick? You guys didn't know about Richard Garfield? Because I figured they would mention in the article if you made something as big as Magic.
You know, do you think that would be the first thing they would say?
Actually, I know why they didn't. This is a sponsored article on ICV2.
Oh,
so they probably can't mention.
We can't mention a
yeah.
competitor.
Anywho, strategic battles. Embrace the 8v8 asset battles.
Ooh, we are coming after Commander's throat.
Tactical thinking and strategy. This format invites players to delve into the intricacies of each character's abilities and how they interact with one another, offering endless possibilities for gameplay. Early purchase opportunity. Attendees of Gen Con 2024 will have the exclusive chance to purchase the game before its widespread release. This early purchase opportunity is a dream come true for collectors and fans eager to get their hands on the game and dive into the action and probably steal some from a pallet behind the stage. Because let's face it, this game is going to probably be like more popular than it would have been post Akira Toriyama's death.
That is true. I hadn't really thought about that.
You know, getting that sneak peek early access kind of Sandland card might be a big deal to people. This
feels so surreal to me because up until the announcement of the Sandland anime, I felt like one of the 4 people who knew about Sandland, and now video game, anime, card game, like, it's so strange.
Yeah, so the game is not just a new way to experience the world of Sandland. It's a bridge connecting fans to the characters and stories they love in a format that engage. Okay, well, that's
they need to relax. People in the West are not connected to Sandland.
I mean, you can't really be traditionally like
Sandland had one manga that hasn't been printed in years.
Well, I guess the idea is that by the time you've watched this Sandland anime, then this card game will come out.
That is some serious prediction here. It's like, what if the Sandland anime isn't good? Now, I love the Sandland manga, but what if it isn't good and then it comes out, no one likes it, and they don't want to play the card game now?
I think it could be the worst thing in the world. People would probably like it because of just the circumstances around its release now.
That's true.
That said, though, I mean, I think it's going to be great because I've liked things like Dragon Quest and all like other things.
I think a great example, a good way to describe Sandland is a mix of Dragon Ball and Mad Max.
So here's something interesting. It's published by Bandai.
Oh, I was about to get into that because I had a feeling.
Who's publishing this shit? Yeah, it's Bandai. Here's what one of the one of the starter decks or whatever.
That's just the stock Bandai template for
I don't think this is the final.
Decks.
I'm assuming that the final box will look a little different.
I'm actually not. I think that's exactly what it's going to look like because that's what the One Piece decks look like.
Well, you're going to be picking up your Sandland trading card game, Alec.
I ask this with every new card game. I've only just found out about it, Paul. This is still weird to me.
Have you bought any Star Wars Unlimited?
No, I haven't bought any Star Wars Unlimited. I've thought about it, but I'm...
Oh, wait, I thought you weren't thinking about it.
I tried not to, but it keeps popping up places.
Interesting.
But, Sandland is such a, time... I have my original copy still. Beat up as hell, but I still I loved Sandland, and I'm really trying to wrap my head around. There's now going to be a Sandland card game in the space where I've already said many times we don't need any more card games by the company I keep yelling at for making more card games.
Well, you'll get to try it out early at Gen Con this year and decide whether or not you want to play or scalp it. So, yeah.
I don't want Sandland to be scalped.
But it will be. And the only way you can stop the scalping is by being an honest player.
You know what I hate? Corporations. Well, that should never have been in this position. Sandland should have been forgotten about. It should have been lost to the annals of time, and only the 6 of us who remembered in the West would ever think about it. And we'd only think about it once every few months when it crossed our minds. There should not be a resurgence in Sandland. I know it's great or whatever, and it's a way to honor Akira Toriyama, but...
Well, the thing is, this decision was made before his...
It was. That's the crazy part. This was planned before now. Death, so. It's. I find it all too overwhelming.
Well, that's great. We can just move on to the next story. Then you can buy your Sandland cards when they come out later this fall.
I can't stand you.
You can purchase them.
So, actually, once again, I actually don't have any trading card game stories.
That's okay. Yeah, I guess we're done with that. I don't have any more either.
Then we're gonna move into gaming.
My favorite topic. There's nothing good in this industry sometimes.
So, Sony is reportedly pausing PSVR2 production to clear excess inventory.
I saw this last week.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Especially since I just got the Quest 3, the Meta Quest 3, and been having a good time with it.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. It's a good time. Thanks, Paul.
Welcome.
So
I got it for his birthday gift.
That's true. It was. No, we did talk about that on the pod. It was my birthday last week. Okay, so after producing in excess of 2 million units of its latest virtual reality headset, Bloomberg is reporting that Sony is hitting pause on production to try and shift its unsold inventory. The PlayStation VR 2 launched last February for $549 as an accessory for the PlayStation 5, but IDC data. What do you think?
I don't know offhand.
But IDC data suggests that shipments have been declined each quarter since. So no one at least sellers don't want any more of these headsets because they can't move them.
They're hard to move. Okay. All right. Well, I can break down a little bit of my just thoughts on this.
What you got?
Assuming that this report is true. PSVR2 is expensive.
$542.
Yeah. Now, granted, the Meta Quest 3 also is expensive.
$500.
It's like $500. I was hoping that they could have maybe gotten that down to a lower price because the Quest 2s were only like $299.
Yeah, they were $300. I think they even went up on those too.
Yeah, I think those did go up. But it's always going to be tough to do VR when the price of entry is high.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's also tricky with like PSVR 2. So, I think a lot of people don't know about the original PSVR was that it was like far and away the most popular VR headset.
Yeah.
More popular than like Oculus, back when it was Oculus, and like more popular than like HTC Vive and all that stuff. And it was because it was a companion piece to the most popular gaming system at the time, the PS4.
And it was by far not the most powerful headset.
Yeah, it wasn't the most powerful, but it was the one that had like just the largest install base, and it was like easy to use because like, I have a PS4, I can get this, they work together. It's I don't have to like kind of trust Meta or Oculus at the time, or like this weird Vive thing where you gotta have like a big huge gaming PC to like run your VR thing.
And I put up these little sensors.
Yeah, put up all these sensors. So it did pretty well. I think VR2 though is tougher because it's like, man, the PS5 has already had a tough enough time like getting into people's hands.
It's not, and it's
been
a full price console.
Years, but still, like, you get a PS5, you're probably paying $500. Then to get a PSVR2, you're paying $550 more bucks. And it's weird because it's literally more expensive than the console. It's a little scary. And like when you add it all up, it's like, man, people don't have that much money. Like the economy's been rough the last couple of years.
Like, can you justify the PSVR2 as because they call it an accessory, but you're essentially buying another console.
You're buying a second console.
So it's like, what is this bringing $542 of value? And Bloomberg says that's actually not the case. It says Bloomberg suggests that the problem is a lack of content for the headset. The PSVR 2 is compatible with a handful of AAA games, including Horizon Call of the Mountain, Gran Turismo 7, and entries in the Resident Evil series, as well as a range of smaller titles. But at $549, the headset costs more than the PS5 itself, so expectations are high. Bloomberg notes that Meta and Apple have faced similar content challenges with their own headsets. Yeah, the PS5 and the PlayStation has always had one advantage in the console war, and that's been exclusives. You go to PlayStation for its exclusives. That's why you don't get an Xbox, or you maybe don't invest in a PC because you really want those exclusive titles. The PSVR 2 does not really offer you anything you can't get with another headset.
I have to admit, I don't know what all the exclusive like PSVR 2 titles have been in the last year or so.
Horizon?
I remember,
Gran
I know you
Turismo.
mentioned a couple. I know at the State of Play, I heard about something new that they were making. I guess, I don't know. I don't hear a lot about it.
I don't know all the ins and outs of game development. I think one issue they probably bump into is if you are developing a VR game, why limit it to just that one headset?
It's tough. If there's not a high install base, it's just not worth it. It's the same problem that things like the Wii U had, things like the PlayStation Vita had. If not enough people actually own the system, then no one's going to want to develop for it because it's just you won't be able to reach a lot of people.
You won't make a lot of money.
And so you won't make a lot of money, and that's development resources that in an industry that's already full to the brim of layoffs, and canceled games, canceled projects, closed studios. I don't know if anyone's going to really like bite the bullet on trying to make a VR game unless Sony's offering a lot for that.
Well, they can't be, because since Sony laid off lots of people, including their teams that worked on VR titles.
Yeah.
They closed their London studio, the developer behind Horizon Call of the Mountain. That was a Fire Sprite studio. In total, the layoffs are expected to affect around 900 Sony employees, or 8% of its overall headcount. And it's, if you're firing your VR developers,
then there's never going to be any more games.
Then who are we depending on to make content for this $542 headset?
I have a question. I'm sure you probably don't really have the answer to it, but can the PSVR, is it just compatible with the little PlayStation streaming thing where you can you just cast your play your PS5 games in your headset?
Some of your games, some games are compatible with it. I don't think it's all.
Oh, okay. Because if someone obviously who's listening can maybe fill us in the comments or something, or live chat if you're watching the premiere right now. If that's a feature, then that's something. Because I remember basically what I'm wondering is it effectively a PlayStation Portal?
I was thinking about the Portal too.
Because I was thinking about that PlayStation Portal recently. My sister's boyfriend got to play with a PlayStation Portal recently, and he was telling me about it. And he was like, yeah, I got one. I don't know if he got one or just borrowed a friend's or something. He was just like, yeah, it was cool, but I just couldn't justify buying one for myself because the only feature was just kind of streaming my PS5 games. I just prefer to play them on the couch. Now, it made me think, well, okay, fine, but at least it's a better value proposition if it's $200. However much it was
it's certainly cheaper than $540.
Just a lot cheaper than $550. So it's if they're not going to be people developing games for the PSVR2, and then it's also $550, then something's got to give. And I was going to suggest okay, well, even if there aren't a lot of huge major new titles for it, if you can at least play Spider-Man and God of War on there just with your headset on and kind of just cast it, just to that, then that's at least a value prop. It's a use case. But are you willing to pay $550 for that? For $550, you could probably get a bigger TV than the one you have right now, or
it's a lot of money for not a lot of content. I think VR in general has suffered that issue. I got the Quest 3. The Quest series has a content struggle, but they've been trying to figure out their ways around that. Yeah. They have the Xbox Live
the
Cloud thing.
Good call.
It actually works pretty well. I've been using it. I stream games through the cloud. They don't take up any of my hard drive space. But there's also Steam Link, where you can link your headset to your Steam account or that on your computer.
Steam Link your games to that.
Then you stream through that as well.
And see, PSVR can never do either of those things because obviously Sony would never have Game Pass. So. Yeah, so although I guess if Microsoft has its way, that might be a thing.
They'll try and find a way.
But yeah, since PSVR 2 is gonna always kind of be limited to just these PSVR titles,
Sony has to make something.
They might find themselves in a bit of a bind. Now, it does make me think: could a price cut help? Do you think cutting it? Let's say they slash $100 off it. Let's just for starters, it's
not
$449. Do you think that changes anything at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay, $150. It's $400 now.
No.
Any better? I don't think it's getting any lower than $350.
I don't think they can price it any lower than that. But unless they announce some type of a VR title, some AAA VR title, no one's going to want to buy this.
Yeah, I think that would be. It's gonna have to be more than one title too. It's gonna kind of have to be one big one and then a couple of little niche pull this little fandom into it.
They need, you know what they need, Paul? They need those Wii developers. They need the people who made the flagship Wii titles.
Okay.
Because those developers were working on very wonky games that use motion controls, and the Wii was filled with those kind of games. They had so many of them. There were so many Wii games no one ever played.
See, I don't know if that's the answer though, because those are also shovelware. The quality wasn't high.
That's true, but I remember there's a Final Fantasy game made for Wii, Crystal Chronicles, Crystal Bear, something like that.
Bears or Seekers or something
something like that. And because Sony has such a good working relationship with Square and the Final Fantasy brand, if they could just get some type of a Final Fantasy in VR.
That's what I was saying. Is like, I don't think that they need like shovelware games. They need like a big God of War VR or like Spider-Man VR, right? Like a big kind of first party Sony associated IP, Uncharted, something like that. And then also you have a few of the small things that like grab little audiences, like Persona VR, right? Like, Persona's not the world's biggest thing, but like it will get those Persona fans a reason to have one. Or like you kind of have like you said, a Final Fantasy like spin-off kind of in VR, and just enough stuff that a lot of these longtime PlayStation fans feel like they have a reason to buy it and not kind of play the weird, just VR only game that no one trusts to be good.
I mean, but they can do like, they can have like one full game, and then the rest can be essentially just tech demos that cost you $30.
It's got to be. I don't know. I think that would work if this was something that was just launching. But I think that like a year and a half in, not like, yeah. You got to have more to show.
The launch has been flubbed, and I don't know how you recover here.
Here's how you recover. It's got to be a double whammy. It's got to be games and price drop. Like if they had just launched, it could be one or the other. It could have launched cheaper, or it could have launched with bigger games, and either one would be fine. I think now that you're like over a year in, the only thing you can do, to me, right? I'm not an expert in the gaming field, but it's like you got to hit them on both fronts. It's cheaper now, and suddenly your favorite game has like a little like as a game coming out for it.
Because like there's a problem that when we think of the PSVR, we can't think of what is the flagship title, what is the game.
There's one last thing I want to say about it too, which is something that the PSVR is always going to sort of struggle with by nature of being like a gaming companion headset. Mm-hmm. Meta and Apple Vision Pro 2 have gotten Apple Vision Pro, 2, not 2 as in like a sequel. But those two products have gotten a lot of mileage out of being entertainment and productivity devices.
That's true.
So I think that a lot of these companies have found that VR as just a games experience can be like pretty tumultuous.
It's tough.
If you don't have like really good games, like I know Quest has, what is that game that they've
been pushing that game Asgard's Wrath.
Like it's got like a few games like that, but a lot of people are actually finding they enjoy using their MetaQuest to do work. Like
there's actually a lot of productivity kind of software on there.
Productivity stuff, social media, or just like watching Netflix just in VR or watching whatever in VR. And obviously PlayStation is never going to really be able to like do a lot of that stuff because it's got to be like a PlayStation product. So they could try to add some of that functionality in, but I don't think that
it shouldn't be that weird. I mean, the PS5 has an entire media tab, and a lot of people, they sit on that media tab all day. Yeah. Netflix, whatever else.
So if that's something that you can do in your PSVR, which again, I don't know if you can. I don't know if it lets you like stream YouTube, Netflix, and stuff. If it does, cool. That's a start. Maybe leaning even more into that could be an answer to its woes. I don't know why I'm as invested in this product as I even in its success as I am. Because I don't own one.
Because we don't want things to fail in the gaming industry as geeks, as nerds, as losers, as guys with no bitches. Like, this is important to us.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope that Sony can turn it around. I think that the probably immediate answer that we'll likely see is a price cut.
Yeah, and
I think that'll be the first thing. Probably by like $50 or $100. Take it or leave it.
And the sad part is, I don't think people will really take the risk on this product until it costs.
It's got to be like they got to cut this thing in half for anyone.
I feel like $250. People will start being like, "Oh, I'll give it a little bit of a try." Like, yeah, I think it would have to be at least that much for people to give it the old 1-2.
The old college.
Because there's serious issues with like these VR headsets that have not been solved. Battery life, comfort while wearing them.
I mean,
there's so many.
Surprised how many things you will tolerate when the price is low enough.
That's true, and that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like there's so many little kind of uncomfortable parts about playing games in VR and just using those headsets in general. You gotta bring the bar down here. Like,
a bit, yeah. Doesn't that thing still have to like connect to the PS5?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean
that's crazy. How are they charging? I'm sorry. I know I've been like spending the last like 10 minutes defending this thing, but like how the hell are they charging $550 for something that still like has like a wire tethered to your PS5? Because the Quest 3 is $500 and like doesn't have wires.
Because you know why?
So
They don't have like a month. They already take a loss on those consoles.
Yeah,
they can't afford to take a loss on because Meta and them, they take a loss on their headsets.
Yeah.
They try to get their money on the back end by selling all of our data.
Service or data.
They haven't confirmed if they're selling all of our data, but I just assume they are.
I mean, it's Meta.
It's
so
Meta, like,
yeah. Okay. Well, good luck to the PSVR2.
Good luck to all those involved.
Yeah. Hopefully they can figure something out. All right. What do you have next? Any more game stuff?
I do have some game stuff. It's for the game that I hate.
Okay.
So Overwatch 2 devs fear story missions have been canceled.
What? What else is canceled? Like, what? I thought
You would think.
What does that mean?
In the last few months, Overwatch 2 fans have grown increasingly worried about the state of the hero shooter story missions. These missions were a pillar of the sequel's initial pitch at BlizzCon 2019. The shiny new thing that merited making a new game instead of patching the original one, like most live service projects. But since Overwatch 2's October 22 launch, only one set of missions have been released. That was in August 2023. Currently, there is no release window for more. For Blizzard, the January Xbox layoffs primarily affected developers working on those missions.
Oh no.
What's more, recent changes to Overwatch 2's menus suggest story missions are at the very least being deprioritized.
Oh, they're like hiding them in the
Yes,
menu?
they used to be more prominently in their home menu. They don't want you thinking about it.
Yeah.
Don't think about the promises we made and they're not making good on.
Well, you're the Overwatch guy. Let me know what's this. How are we feeling? Pulse check.
So, as someone who's turned away from Overwatch in recent months,
it's like a religion.
I mean,
it kind of from God.
Well, in a weird way, when you're like deep in Overwatch, it kind of is
like
that way.
In
some way, I compare Overwatch to League with how addictive it can be. I said League, right?
League.
Yeah, I think I said
Legends.
Yeah, League of Legends.
Yeah.
It can kind of feel like you're in a bit of a cult when you're like really into Overwatch. You can't get out. You're having so much fun, and you're like as you scream and rage through each of your PvP matches because you're really invested. Cause that's the only way to play the game.
Well, it is now. Well, anyway, so backtracking.
Yeah, right.
I cut you off. So
I was getting worked up again. Yeah, I mean, Overwatch 2 is just kind of trash. It's because the thing is, it is not trash because the base game is bad. It's trash because it is just Overwatch 1 with like some new characters and some new maps, with some features lost, and with all around worse cosmetics for your money. The cosmetics are, I guess, the skins and stuff are better, but you've been paying more.
Those Cowboy Bebop skins are $25 a pop.
Yeah,
so
they're expensive.
That's something I read. I don't know.
It's trash because it's an overall worse product than when Overwatch 1 came out.
Yeah,
it's a worse product because Overwatch 2 made promises of being a different game,
and ultimately it's
just the same game.
Yeah. I think I've said this a few times in this podcast, so I'll try to keep it quick. I think that Overwatch 2 isn't like a real game.
That's a mirage.
Like I think it's like Schrodinger's game, basically, where it's a concept that was created because interest was waning in Overwatch 1, and like they had to cancel their Overwatch League, and like they were kind of seeing a lot of competition from the new shooters on the block.
Battle royales.
Yeah, the little battle royales, all that stuff. And so, like, with interest weighing in Overwatch, you can kind of create a sort of synthetic media wave by saying that a sequel game is coming out. Because it's not enough to say, oh, Overwatch 1 is getting a big update or something. Some people will care, but, like, you won't get, like, a lot of eyes on an update.
Right.
Because it's a noisy world out there, right? Every game's getting an update every month.
Like
literally every game's getting an update every month. So, like, that's not enough to really get attention. So you say, okay, this is Overwatch 2. This is the sequel. The new, like, big Overwatch game, like, is happening. And so it happens. And you kind of, like, you hide it in the fine print. Oh, this is like early access. Like, we're not going to say that. The real game comes out in like, some months from now, but like, it's like, oh, it's an early beta or whatever. And like, the good stuff will come soon. Like, we the story missions or whatever, these little PvE modes, they'll come later. But like, for now, we love you guys so much that we're going to give you the multiplayer game now. See, it's even free to play, Alec. So you don't have to pay a penny. But like, and you got to buy your battle pass. We'll sell you the battle pass even though the game's in early access. But like, I mean, it's more or less done. You can still pay us $20 for the battle pass, right? So, and then like all this stuff happens, and now that you've kind of gotten invested into playing, you've paid a couple battle passes. Oh, whoops, sorry guys, bad news. That thing that we it's canceled. And I think it just, so stuff like that to me makes it, and this isn't like meant to be like an Overwatch specific. Like, this happens with a billion games.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Suicide Squad or whatever is having the same issues. Just like, and they're charging $70 and people don't like that.
Right.
But, like, it's just that whole thing with these live service games where it's a scramble to we just need people to just play. Like, please just ignore all the problems. Please ignore the missing thing. We promise it'll come later. We'll figure it out. But just please play the game now. Please play now and just spend some money on something.
So I have an analogy.
Okay.
The Overwatch 2, it's alluring. Right. It's a pretty tree. It's got some nice flowers on it. Even bears fruit. But the core, the roots of Overwatch is rotten. It is dying. Blizzard they are not getting the job done. The Overwatch team, they're not getting it done. They haven't been getting it done for a long time because at the very core of this, whoever's in charge, the decision makers for Blizzard and Overwatch, rotten. They're in it. I mean, they're in it for the money. Yeah. They have a pretty looking product that allures people, almost like a Venus flytrap. But at the end of the day, the fly trap has to close and then kill whatever it catches.
I mean, what's rough is that I've never heard people really say that like the gameplay of Overwatch is like bad. It's typically just
the gameplay of Overwatch is just the pretty flowers.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's the decision making around Overwatch is rotten than it has been. Not I'm gonna say from the jump, but it's been rotten for a long time.
It certainly feels like it's maybe been dishonest the last maybe couple of years.
Like it might be more than a couple. Yeah. In the gaming industry, there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah, that's why I want to be clear that like I'm not like an Overwatch hater. It's really more like a lot of games are suffering the same fate. Getting turned, like, and we heard what Warner Brothers was saying. Because like we want more live service, and we're not going to do these single player games, even if they've done well.
And it's not wrong to like playing Overwatch. If you're an Overwatch lover, I'm not condemning you. I condemn the people in charge of Overwatch. I'm not even condemning the guys that are working on the skins, that are working on the characters, that are trying to make the game work. I'm looking at the people who get paid for this.
It's the committees and like the heads and stuff.
Though, like, there's issues with Overwatch, Call of Duty, Halo.
Yeah, a lot of games are getting this treatment.
There's a lot going wrong in gaming.
Well, I had a story like last week about how someone was like, "Yay, Jeff Keighley like finally acknowledged the gaming layoffs because people don't like the Game Awards or they didn't like it very much last year because there was so many ads." I didn't end up mentioning the story, but I just thought it was kind of like felt poignant since so many like layoffs are happening, and then we're also seeing a lot of like the live service games kind of crumble apart, or like more and more features or games that were like planned to be released are kind of getting either pushed back or just canceled.
I think gaming needs to just go back to how it used to be.
What is that?
Small, I guess indie in a sense. Small development teams who care about the products, making the games won't look as good. They won't have millions of dollars to invest in these games. But I think we have to go back to a point of passion when the people who care actually got to make the decisions about the games.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's like also just that here's what we need. No, we need like I think it'd be nice to see a shift back to kind of the good single player game, like the finished single player game, rather than the promised multiplayer one, if that makes sense. Because like everything that has gone sort of wrong seems like it always comes down to some game that was designed to be a live service multiplayer thing, like to some varying degree, right?
Yeah, because there are exceptions. Look at Square.
Yeah, like there's like games that come out as single player games that are like also a mess. But in general, it tends to be like we're trying to make this multiplayer thing that you get a battle pass for every other month, and we'll fill in the details later. We'll fill in the blanks. We'll fix the bugs, whatever. Just please play now. But when you look at some of the best performing games the last couple of years, your Elden Rings, your Tears of the Kingdoms, Spider-Man, all that stuff, your God of Wars, they're finished single player games that didn't need like huge, patches and bugs. That one meme where like it's all of the apology letters from the companies where it's like, we're sorry for releasing it in this state. We did wrong by you. It's always like some multiplayer game, pretty much. There have been some single player ones, like Forspoken or whatever, like that flopped.
Poor Cyberpunk.
But yeah, like Cyberpunk. But even that like regained its.
It took some time
later.
though.
But I think that like a return to just the like focused single player experience that is artistically and like gameplay wise good, not so much. We use Unreal Engine 5, and we have the most realistic blades of grass that you'll ever see. And like the facial hair is the most realistic and 5 o'clock shadow
you'll appreciate the grass when your character steps into this one specific tile and falls through the floor.
Yeah, and we'll patch it in 2 months. Maybe if you're lucky. Maybe I'm getting a little too like down on it. I mean, I know like making games itself is hard, but I just think like time in the oven and like more focus on the game and not like the live service it will be could help.
It's corporations, man. You gotta let artists make art. Games are art. Let artists make the art. Will the business side suffer? Yes, it will. Artists are not known for being good at running businesses. Anywho. The games will be fire though.
Cool. Well, do you have any more gaming stories before I move on to my next one?
Let's see. I don't think I do. I yelled about all the things I wanted to yell about. Yep, that's it for me.
Okay, cool. Well, I've got some entertainment news.
Will we actually be entertained? I feel like I've just been mad for 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, this has been a not like super optimistic podcast. We're sorry, guys. I know like your Thursday morning, maybe you wanted something a little bit more upbeat, but there's not much good to talk about, at least in this one.
As a quick aside, my favorite basketball team, the Pelicans, are killing it. That's my good news for the week.
TikTok ban.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because this technically was like happening last week, but
you made it sound like this was going to be a dramatic change in tone.
Yeah, they've signed like the TikTok ban bill, and so basically the bill would force TikTok or ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, to sell its stakes in the social media platform within 6 months of the bill's enactment. Otherwise, it will be banned from operating in the United States. And that would also require ByteDance to give up control of TikTok's well-known algorithm, which feeds users content based on their preferences.
Has ByteDance responded?
No, I know that the TikTok CEO has made TikToks about the situation, but
made TikToks about TikTok situation.
He actually does that.
That's
like
funny.
Whenever the last time that they were like in Congress or whatever, like having the hearings, he made like TikToks to talk to the people. But I think it's kind of clever because it's literally the best way to reach the primary audience that uses and loves your app and like would be willing to defend it.
It's like when Elon Musk tweets.
That's a little different. Yeah, so basically TikTok could be getting banned. And a lot of people, cite like Chinese data harvesting. They're going to take our data, they're going to sell it to China, they're going to manipulate the populace through recommending certain videos or suppressing other ones.
I think.
What do we think of this TikTok ban?
If the reason is Chinese manipulation, I feel like it's been done already. Like I feel like if that is our reason for banning TikTok, we're late.
Well, we're late to many things. I mean, crypto, everything.
I guess they're just trying to get it done before the election.
That could be the case. There's a lot of reasons why, because they've been trying to ban TikTok for the last few years. So I guess this is just the one that seems like it's stuck. But
I think it also might. Well, I guess it won't affect this election, but I know certain politicians use TikTok for their campaigning, and others have absolutely no idea how to use the platform at all. So maybe in that way, they're trying to even the playing field. So the 80-year-olds don't have to be confused. Biden can stop making TikToks.
Yeah, so basically, lawmakers from both parties, as well as law enforcement and intelligence officials, have long expressed concerns that Chinese authorities could force ByteDance to hand over data on the 170 million Americans who use TikTok. The worry stems from a set of Chinese national security laws that compel organizations to assist with intelligence gathering, which ByteDance would likely be subject to, and other far-reaching ways the country's authoritarian government exercises control. Now, TikTok has denied assertions that it could be used as a tool of the Chinese government.
That's exactly what a tool of the Chinese government would say.
Listen, the company has said it has never shared U.S. user data with Chinese authorities and won't do so if it's asked. To date, U.S. government has also not provided any evidence that shows TikTok shared such information with Chinese authorities.
They're the government. They don't need evidence. That would make it sound like the law should be fair.
So apart from security concerns, some lawmakers, researchers, and critics of TikTok posit that the app suppresses content unfavorable to Beijing, which TikTok denies. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence also warned in a report released Monday, this like last week, that the Chinese government has used TikTok to influence recent U.S. elections. That was something that you were saying. Here's their quote. TikTok accounts run by a PRC propaganda arm reportedly targeted candidates from both political parties during the U.S. midterm election in 2022. So there is fear, I guess, that it can manipulate elections. There's fear that our data is all being sold to China.
Now, I'm fairly certain that you don't have the answer to this question. I'm going to ask anyway, just to be clear.
Everything. No, I don't.
Did they provide any evidence for any of the things they're saying?
I mean, I guess maybe these reports did. They linked these reports, so...
I hope the reports have actual evidence and they're not just claiming that these things are happening.
Well, I'm going to try to avoid the political side of it. People don't like politics too much in their podcasts, I've noticed. But I'll just say this about the TikTok ban. I don't like TikTok very much myself personally. I do not use it like on my own kind of time, right? We have some Team APS videos that are like shorts that are like on YouTube and Instagram, and I also put them on TikTok. You know this, right? But I do not like use personal TikTok. There's no like algorithm or whatever. Like I don't watch and like swipe and send people stuff. And I don't like short form content very much in general. Like I'm not a big fan of kind of the short attention span, like all punchline, no build up style of,
right.
I think it can be a little like brain rotting. I've seen kids and like much older adults lose hours to TikTok and not really be able to like really, they don't even remember what they want. It can just like burn your time and all that stuff. And all that said, I don't think that it needs to be banned because people do enjoy this. Like, it's easy to sort of say, like, oh, that TikTok thing and all the kids are watching it or whatever, these Gen Zers doing their weird stuff. But I don't like the idea of something that people like and is entertaining and fun. And, like, there are people who've, they're having a good time with this app. It sucks to see it just kind of go, or the idea it'll go. I also think that even if the concern is, attention spans or people manipulating election, all that stuff can still happen on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. I mean, I've got friends who like watch crazy conspiracy crap on YouTube and like people who share just nonsense, spam like and crypto ads on Instagram Reels. So that part at least, Instagram's owned by Meta. If you're afraid of your data being sold, ByteDance isn't the only ones to be afraid of.
Facts.
So I don't know. I guess, and maybe it's like the content creator in me where I don't like the idea of like a site that's got like some people having fun and being creative and like making stuff that they share with other people like just get banned. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm in my 30s, and when I hear about young people having fun, they don't need to be doing all that. I hate the sound of that, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think TikTok, Instagram Reels, I think all short form content should be banned.
Right.
I know that can literally never happen, and it's not in no way a popular take. I just can't. You don't like short form content. I hate short form content.
Okay.
And the fact that people enjoy it make me hate it more. Okay, I was in a bag for that moment, guys. That's not my true opinion. I do hate these types of content, but I don't think we should just ban TikTok because we believe the Chinese might like be manipulating it in some way. Because if the answer is just having them sell it to a U.S. company, that actually does not absolve the idea of Chinese interference. That just means we own it now.
Like, I get what people are probably trying to go for with that. I just think that the real, like, if we're kind of talking harm of this content form, I think that most of the harm still exists on any other site.
The harm of TikTok is what it does to our brains. But like Paul said, Instagram Reels.
Yeah, you'll just go to Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts.
All those are just as brain rotting. I have a bigger issue with that. But instead of banning those platforms, I would rather us promote long form content. No, not videos, books. I want people to read again. Let's promote that. I don't want to ban anything. I want to force people to read again. But I'm not reading Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Let's make that clear. I'm not doing that. I don't care how many books you put in front of me. If I see one more pendulum card, I'm ripping my hair out.
That was a roller coaster ride of thoughts and emotions. But I will just, all I can say is that I am not too happy to see this potential TikTok ban. I hope that, something can get resolved that just lets people still be able to enjoy their TikTok. I don't enjoy it much myself, but I do not want like teens or whoever, like if this is how like teens are enjoying their time on their, like, with their friends or on their phone or whatever, making stuff, let them have fun. Like, let the people do the thing.
If the government wants to make it harder for new influencers to get into the space and compete with us, then
I guess I should really be
far be it from us to stop them.
Far be it from me to stop them. That's true.
Because TikTok is the hottest like discovery engine on the internet.
Yeah,
if you want to like make your way in like content creation, right? Go viral. TikTok is the place. If you take away that's we have Instagram Reels and YouTube and stuff, but that was the hot one.
Virality doesn't seem like it comes from those. It seems like virality comes from TikTok.
And I feel like if we ban TikTok, won't there just be a new one?
There probably will, and I guess the idea is that America is fine with there being a new TikTok as long as it's just American owned.
But look how long it took for them to ban it. I feel like a Chinese company could make another TikTok, and if it takes another like 5 years to ban that one.
Listen, I don't know. I mean, I want to hear from the listeners. What do you think about the TikTok ban? And the thing that I'll add into it is, I'm not asking if you like TikTok. Right. I'm asking, like, do you think that the ban is warranted for the reasons that they're doing it? Because I know a lot of people just, like, they don't use TikTok, or I see those kids watching it, so I think, yeah, sure, ban it. But that's not, I mean, if that's your reason for wanting it banned, fine. I'm not asking you to change that. But the opinion I'm more interested in is, like, do you feel that the ban is right? Not do you like TikTok personally? Because I don't like TikTok personally. I really do not. I
don't love this American style of imperialism here. We don't like this Chinese company. You know what? You can't operate here unless you sell it to us.
Listen, you're getting a little too political, so I think it's time for us to move on to the next topic. People don't want politics in their pot of greed, Alec.
I'm sorry, politics.
So, do you have any more stories?
No.
If you don't, then it's time to do some pot.
That's political.
Yeah, that's political. Unbanned pot of greed on the ban list.
All right. The first question is, how long will Yu-Gi-Oh survive as a card game? Can we get something positive?
Jesus
Christ. Golly.
No positivity here. Oh man! It's not to say that this has to be a negative topic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now my stances on it aren't wholly optimistic, but I'm gonna
As long as there is a surviving millennial, Yu-Gi-Oh will be around. But when the last millennial passes, that's when this game ends.
I don't have a counter argument to that, actually. I really don't. Okay, but I'll expand on my opinion some. That's what you guys come here for. I'll even keep it apolitical. So, I think if this person kind of wants like a number on the answer.
What's the number?
Realistically, I think we're good the next few years. I do.
That's not a number.
I think that I would be, like we're celebrating like the 25th anniversary.
Right.
We're not hitting 50.
Woo!
I think that here's my little like silver lining to this. I think Yu-Gi-Oh in its current form is not Like, I don't see 25 years left.
Rush Duel. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Do I think that's the answer?
Is that what you're...
I think that it could be part of the answer. But like in all seriousness, you know, I think that the way that Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of working right now, I worry about its longevity because it does seem like Konami is not like heavily prioritizing getting new faces in.
Right.
And some people will like hear me talk about that and they argue that when I say that I'm being negative. Like, I'm just complaining about Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. Why is it not catering to new players? Well, why should we care about new players? I am currently playing the thing. But like without new blood, that's like how things go. Konami can certainly sell Yu-Gi-Oh cards to us millennials for another good 5-10 years, whatever, right? Like, a lot of people are enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh more now than they could like 10 or 15 years ago. Like,
we making that money.
Because we're millennials. We're now like, you know, making enough money that we can go to the events. Mm-hmm. And like the idea of buying a box or a case or whatever.
Or an SP Little Night.
Or like, just buying these little nights and buying, you know, whatever is more attainable for like the 30-year-old Yu-Gi-Oh player. Mm-hmm. The thing is, though, I mean, there's only so many of us, and we'll already naturally kind of fizzle out. Like, you know, people will just
die.
You know, they'll die. People will die. No, but like, you know, people, like, if your primary demographic is people who are also like getting married and kind of starting families, that will naturally kind of
that impedes on the Yu-Gi-Oh.
But also, it's like, man, we don't have like kind of a currently airing new anime. Mm-mm. And it's, you know, the TCG cards can continue to come out, but if there's not kind of an influx of new attention, then it makes you worry like how long this goes on. Because
I mean, the way I look at it is like this. You said we won't see the 50th, right?
Yeah.
Another 25 years, I'll be 56. Wait.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 56. Yeah, I can do some math. Okay. I'll be 56. And the thing is, I cannot see myself playing Yu-Gi-Oh in my 50s.
I don't think anybody.
Like,
I think that
there's probably some
people who can. Jesse Kahn will be.
Like,
but
I think he can do it into his 80s and still win tournaments.
Yeah, but see, my thing is just like, man, you know, you're walking on thin ice with like just millennials and like kind of just like, and I'm not saying anything that I'm sure Konami has not at least considered.
I mean, it's like, their product. They have to be thinking about it.
Internally, they have to kind of always be, what's the next thing? What is the next 5, 10, like 20 years? If we want this to persist, like, what do we do? And we know that that's the case because we've heard from their shareholders that like there are concerns about kind of new player conversion and enjoyment and like onboarding and all that stuff. So something's got to give. I think that they have to either a reboot of the original anime or like an exciting new anime that's like actually airing.
I think
is a big part of it.
So I have a drastic idea that someone in Konami might be thinking about. I don't know if it works, but it's a crazy idea. Since they know their demographic so well, they know very well that Yu-Gi-Oh players are millennials and the oldest of the Gen Zs, right? They know this. They know our apparent age. They know our average life expectancy and when we're expected to all have children or have families.
Yeah, they bought the data from Meta.
This is a crazy strategy. They could be waiting for when we hit our average level of Yu-Gi-Oh players with children. And then that's when they'll drop a new anime and then lean hard on all the millennials to teach their kids.
I actually think that if that's the case, genius.
That's a crazy strategy.
B, they need to be starting that like now, if you ask me.
I mean, they have to be. They have to be working on it right now.
Because that would be a really good solution. Is like something that's meant to be played with your kids. I ain't showing my kids Yu-Gi-Oh today. I'm not showing them modern Yu-Gi-Oh.
I can't show them this Yu-Gi-Oh.
Crazy.
But the thing is, it's not happening. If let's say I have kids in the next like 10 years, and Rush Duels drops in let's say in the next 5 years or so. I could show my kids how to play Rush Duels.
Right.
That seems like a kid friendly way to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! That I as a parent can I can show them how to play this and not have to worry about keeping up with all the insane interactions of the game today.
Because it's like, man, I tell you right now, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, sometimes I look at the social media kind of landscape where like people are, we're fussing about like ban lists and like kind of reprint stuff. And I'm just more like, man, we got to maybe really be more critical of the lack of like new player onboarding. I just don't feel like there's any of that.
Like that is the biggest issue with Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanks whoever gave us this question. We got more out of this than I expected.
Yeah. Cool. We're off to a great optimistic start.
Hey, we came up with an idea that would be cool.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, my question is, when did you go from making pile decks as a kid to properly constructed decks? This is from our friend Basic Nerd.
Basic Nerd, be in that pot. We should write his name on the pot.
Yeah, we should. That reminds me, guys, if you ever want to submit a question for the Pot of Greed, we would be happy to take it. All you got to do is use the submission link in the video description.
Takes you to a Google form. You just type in your question. We will see it.
Yeah, we'll see it. We get a lot of them, so definitely keep leaving them. Yeah. So when did you stop like making basically, I guess, junk decks as a kid and start like kind of having something?
So it's hard
or strategy.
To what? How do you personally?
May 30th, 1990.
No, like how do you personally define like a junk deck versus a proper deck? Because I'm trying to figure out.
I can give my answer.
All right, what do you got?
I think the first serious deck that I remember building was when I got back into the game kind of towards the end of my 7th grade year, which I think was like early 2008.
Okay.
Feels like when that was. As I kind of started getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! I was still kind of playing just junk decks and stuff at the time. The first thing I built was a Battery Man deck. And so it wasn't very good. Battery Man were never like a good archetype, but it was the first time that I found a theme of cards and like put them together with an intended purpose.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily like, oh, my first competitive deck.
Yeah.
All right, that helps me.
So that was kind of where my
thoughts together.
It was like maybe in 2008, 9-ish or something. It's like I had that. And then the second major example is I remember kind of wanting to play like a dark control deck, like right around when shortly after Phantom Darkness had kind of come out.
I gotcha. Okay.
So those were kind of my two. I think Battery Man came first, and then that came second, and then. So
for me, I mean, it feels rough to say because I don't know if it necessarily counts, but it would be the old like starter decks, like the old structure decks. I mean,
yeah, okay.
Like the zombie deck. Then it was like the warrior deck.
You know what's interesting about those structure decks? I never, as a kid, got to experience any of those.
I played them all.
I never played like any of. I never was given or like was able to buy any of them, and I either like I think quit my first like major quit. But by the time they were in circular, but I remember they existed.
Like I used Vampire Genesis all through my first year of middle school. Oh, wonderful time. But it's hard to call that a proper deck because
it came that way. So.
It was basic and honestly, I mean they were a little more than piles themselves.
They were still ragtag piles where all the monsters just kind of happened to be the same type. So what was? I mean, I know you played Light Sworns and like Dark Worlds a little bit.
I didn't get into playing Light Sworns and Dark World until 2012 when I was getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And they had like structure decks and stuff, and I picked those up. Then that was like my last like full sprint into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I wasn't way back in those old structure deck days. I wasn't cognizant of there being a Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame at all.
Yeah,
it was just Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm the best player in my school. That it was that kind of a mindset. So maybe it was then with Lightsworn back in 2012. Yeah. Like it's hard to tell. It's honestly hard for me to call it. Maybe the Machina structure. It's tough.
Right. Well, good question. I mean, yeah, I think I don't even like. I remember I would read like a lot on Pojo and stuff like that about like kind of making decks, but still for a long time I was still playing kind of what you would call a pile deck. I was the obsessive kind of kid. Like when I got into Yu-Gi-Oh, I got in pretty hard. Like I was like reading I just loved reading resources. I loved reading Pojo guides, TCG player guides. So I would try to build as many decks as I could with like the little stuff that I had, which wasn't much, but I would always be like, okay, what can replace Dekoichi, right? The battle chanted locomotive. What's the next best thing? Skelengol or whatever, Skelengel.
I grew up without internet, so it didn't even occur to me to Google Yu-Gi-Oh.
I had sparse access to internet at that time. I had to go to like local library and read stuff there. And I also I had that internet where you like only one person could have the internet in the house. It was like with the phone
that good old dial-up,
like dial-up. Yeah, and so. Anywho, good question.
All right, number 2. Here we go. I think digital card gaming will eventually replace the physical games we know and love. What do you think? I like someone sharing their opinion and just asking us ours. I think that makes a lot of sense, and viewing it like in a progress way. Like physical cards are wasteful. That makes a lot of sense. Personally, I hope not. I really love physical cards. That's the way I want to. That is how I want to engage with card games.
I mean, do I think digital TCGs will replace physical ones? Yes, probably so. Do I like it? Mixed.
I mean, you're a Master Duel.
I'm a Master Duel fiend. I like Master Duel for a lot of reasons. If you're new here, I'll explain why, but I'll keep it brief. I like to get in and get out of games. That's like literally the main appeal. I like to get in and out. I beat someone or I lose them. Either way, we're queuing up again and I just get to go. I like to be able to quickly have all my access to all my decks, and I like to not have to like call a judge when there's a ruling dispute. Those are the top 3 reasons why I like Master Duel.
Those are good reasons.
And it lets me do all that. I do not like, conversely, going to tournaments at times. Obviously, I've done lots of it in the past. I'm not saying tournaments are bad. That's not what I'm saying. But just that, like, when I go to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, I got to prepare and leave all that stuff up and drive there and then sign up and then, like, wait 30 minutes while other people are signing up. And then finally the first round starts. And I have to, like, sit and find my opponent. And then I play. And then when I'm done, like, I still have to wait another, like, 15, 20 minutes for the next round. I'm just, like, I feel like my time spent is, like, so split between waiting around and getting to duel. And I want to duel, and then duel again, and then duel again.
See, I think with you is you like playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I like playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
You really like playing Yu-Gi-Oh. And so anything that would slow that down or interfere with your ability to play Yu-Gi-Oh,
I don't have much patience.
You'd rather just cut that all entirely.
Now, here's where the opinion mixes, though. I think that the problem with digital games is that you could like lose all your progress one day when the servers shut down. That's no fun.
They will shut down.
Is I think that it can feel a little bit more ephemeral. Like just in general, like this is not talking about the card game, like servers shutting down, but just more like when things are digital, it's easy to like move on from them. Right. In our world full of microtransaction, live service games, and like a new show that's coming out every godforsaken week.
The X-Men animated series came out today.
Yeah. So it's like there's always something. And that means that like with digital games, I don't know that there's as much like tie-in. Because with physical paper Yu-Gi-Oh, you own the card. The physicality makes them mean something to you. And like there's more memories tied to them.
I got like 7 gacha games on my phone right now.
Yeah, and you rotate, right? Like you don't play them all together at the same time. And
the multitasking in my phone is not strong enough.
and also, I mean, you don't get to meet people online.
You don't.
You'll just you're playing against like random strangers, and then like the game's over, and like you kind of queue into the next one.
Though to be fair, when was the last time you made a friend playing Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, I guess that's technically true. Huh? But I have made many in the past.
Right.
So in that way, I mean, I think like those are parts of physical Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope never leave. And a part that I'm not super big in, but I think is still worth mentioning is the collecting part. Mm-hmm. Where like even if people don't play card games physically as much in like 5 or 10 years, I still hope and still believe that people will collect them. Like collect might look a little different than it is now because the way that like, Yu-Gi-Oh packs are structured, there aren't like many collectible cards in them. It's more like you need it to build a deck or you don't. as long as like collecting is still there, I want to still have my physical cards, a collection of like my favorites.
And that kind of hits on my feelings pretty well, honestly. The like, you know, you like to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I actually don't like to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
I like Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't like to play it. So the collecting aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh is actually a bigger deal to me than actually playing the cards. I love physical Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I love, especially classic cards. That's where my heart lies. I love the foiling. I love being able to look at my cards or hold my cards.
Yeah.
I like to play card games. I like playing cards. I like physically putting cards on tables with like groups of people. I like to do it while drinking. I like to do it while eating. I like to do it when I have nothing else to do. I like putting cards on tables in a very casual way. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm looking at you, advanced format.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't come to space for that.
And so it makes perfect sense that we move towards digital card games being the main way card games are played. But for me, that's actually kind of sad.
Yeah, you know, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. No, no. Trust me. I'm glad that this person asked this question actually, because it kind of gets into all these like existential crises levels of like intensity that I experience at times where I'm like, I don't think that very many people experience Yu-Gi-Oh! In the same way that I do. I'm not saying that like the way I do it is right or wrong, but rather just that like
I'm right.
Right. Is that like I also like Yu-Gi-Oh! I happen to like playing it a lot, and I like playing competitively, and I like playing it casually, and I'm pretty easily able to like flick my switch. I think not everybody's able to like flick the switch and go from like intense, you know, we're walking on eggshells, every little micro interaction counts, and like we're here to, you know, just slit each other's throats with these cards. But then also like
you must have Kaiba's cards.
I want to play, yeah. But I also want to play, you know, I don't mind playing fun decks, and I can very easily dial it back. And it doesn't seem like everybody's like kind of able to do that. And so for people who aren't, I think that their opinions maybe find themselves in the more like extreme end. But I don't really care if we do or don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like physically, digitally, whatever. I just hope that like Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself as a thing can always be around. And if it's up to me, I'll always have parts of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I bought that Kaiba briefcase. I don't even really intend to like, you know, do a load with it. Like,
what can you do with it?
I was reading somebody on Reddit said that they bring it to locals. They brought it to locals the past couple weeks, and they've been like, but that's kind of cool. Like some people are using it to actually store and sort their cards and bring them. And like,
that is best. If you're gonna spend all that money on it, you might as well get used to it.
Yeah, like if anything, I'm the one with that gun in my face because I spent money on it. I don't really like, use the thing. So
you know what? You're gonna carry it today, everywhere you go.
Just go to YouTube. Anyway, so yeah, like I don't know. I guess I'm getting away from the question at this point, but like. I just like everything about Yu-Gi-Oh! So however it ends up, like if it is only digital, I'll still try to play that. But if it's like physical, I'll also do that. Like I don't know.
Like I'll play card games until the day I die. You know, I love spades. I love playing spades. Uno is fun too. But like trading card games are just different.
Yeah.
They hit different.
They hit different. They're fun. They're variable. Like, there's just so many things that can happen. Anywho, okay. My final question, I
One
suppose.
more. Is there a question? Oh, but to say,
I had like two cards in my hand. Okay. I thought we were going to end this podcast soon. I'm hungry. You have found the ancient lamp and awaken La Jinn. What are your 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Wishes?
Oh, wow. 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Wishes? Oh, man. I've been waiting my whole life for this.
Lips.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm going to try to approach this in a not overthinky way.
No, that makes sense. I'm going
to try not to
But I'm going to hit.
But I'm going to
get the good stuff.
And we're going to answer this, like, or at least I'm going to answer this pretty honestly.
All right.
So
we'll trade. Yeah, we'll trade wishes.
Go ahead.
My first wish is all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be uncensored. That's the anime and the cards, the games, everything. Guns are looking like guns. Girls look like girls.
Okay, cool. A simple one. Mine is that TCG and OCG merge.
Ooh.
I think that we are far past the point of like that being a relevant, like helpful division to have. I think that all the products just simply release globally at the same time, same stuff, same ban list. I think that'll help worlds feel more special
Right.
and like, significant. I think that it will prevent all this like, TCG versus OCG kind of debacle. And with that, all products that like, being a Yu-Gi-Oh player in Japan is clearly kind of a superior experience to being like a TCG player. Card quality, card releases, just feels like it's a lot better. And so I would like them to just kind of be the same product, same stuff.
Okay.
That's my first wish.
My second wish is, or should I word this like a wish? Lajin, for my second wish, I would like for there to be a separate competitive format with rotation for Yu-Gi-Oh! That all events will use.
Okay, so you want rotation specifically. Mm-hmm. Okay, because my second wish was actually going to be that there is a mid-level format. So we both are wishing for just some sort of alt formats.
Yes.
So go on.
Really, both of those wishes can coincide because one kind of, in a weird way, will make the other.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I'm so tired of decks just coming out that like are not.
They just disappear.
They come and they go. Somebody was actually talking about this on Twitter. Like MBT had made a video where it was like, why is Konami still making bad cards? And I thought it was a really good video. I mean, because there are a lot of cards that feel like pack filler and junk. And then some people were talking about it on Twitter, and they were kind of highlighting just different, like a lot of archetypes have just like they come out and they're forgotten. They're gone. Like
forgotten archetypes.
Like ones from last year, like Nouvelles or whatever. Like just cool conceptually. Doesn't make enough of a competitive splash, and therefore there's no other place to play it, so it's forgotten.
They're only in the one set, and of course they're not the easiest things to pull in the world. So, like at some point, you just give up on decks like that, right? Like why invest time and money?
Why invest time and money where there's nowhere to play it?
Yeah.
Like because if you go to locals, you get like people, the competitive people will just like I don't want to play test with you. I don't really want to play. You're just a free win in the tournament round. But Konami does not really have protections in place to let those decks thrive without either being stomped out by the best deck or being iced out by like Nibiru and evenly matched and stuff. So,
and honestly, like my goal of the competitive format rotation was to leave the advanced format as a middle of the road format, as people who care about winning so desperately move towards this competitive format. They're going to want to only play in that format. They're going to want to test in that format. They're going to want to prepare for that format, which I think would then move a lot of like the good decks will be played for that format. They wouldn't want to play with us scrubs in the advanced format where everything is legal.
It could go either way, but I'm still with your idea. All right, final wish.
Oh wait, already to my third wish? Oh god, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it.
Also to mine. Mine I'm like torn between two, so I'm actually secretly hoping that like what you say will be what one of my two possible ones are. So then that way,
like give me like 10 seconds.
That's
so
okay. Yeah, no worries.
Get my thoughts together.
Yeah, 3 Yu-Gi-Oh wishes.
Man, this is tough. Like, cause like there's still so many things I want my last wish to be, but it's my last wish.
You can say them all. Say like where's your head at?
So, La Jin, Mystical Genie of the Lamp, for my final wish, I wish for a modern day remake of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime.
Thank goodness.
By Studio Mappa.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I like that last part.
I want more. I want to put more work on their table.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say an anime reboot was gonna be one of mine. Talk about it. What do you? Yeah,
I just think the Yu-Gi-Oh story is so good and timeless that with a fresh coat of paint, it could be popular all over again. It could be a great way of getting people back into the game.
Yeah, my third one was gonna be I'm gonna just sum it up by saying like a new player campaign. Like we need a full campaign, like a project. Like, it's not enough to release shitty 2-player starter sets that don't have playmats in them, Konami. I'm talking about like, we need leagues at card shops. We need commercials again. We need mall tours. We need whatever, like a concerted push to actually get people into Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's
And if
right.
that means like Rush Duel, if that means a, kind of some sort of a reboot of the game or whatever, if that means embracing Edison products or Go, I don't care what it is. I'm just honestly tired of playing this game with just like a bunch of 30-year-olds who are all trapped. We're all, myself included, just trapped in our little bubble where like we're arguing about ban lists and reprints and stuff, but like there aren't new people. Like,
Isn't it dark for a lot of the like Yu-Gi-Oh players? They've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh with the same people for the last 25 years. Like, there's like not many new people at all.
Yeah, I want a new player campaign. That's my final of my 3 Lajin wishes. Is just give us new players. You put a lot of work into getting them. Okay.
Well, all right, Lajin. The rest is in your hands.
What was definitely a negative podcast ended up, I think, being fun by the end, I'd say.
Because we're all trapped here. We might as well make the best of it.
That's true. We are all in this zoo, so let's enjoy ourselves.
Oh, okay, and the main camera's out just in time.
To cut it off. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of The Pot of Greed. A lot of intense topics and discussion, and we would love to hear your thoughts on all of them.
Don't forget to join the Pot of Greed by hitting the Google form in the description to give us some questions.
Yeah, let us know your questions. As you guys can see, we're willing to dig down to the trenches to answer them.
We sure will.
And yeah, leave us some positive reviews wherever you like to listen. Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, and other such places. It's going to be it.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.